Well, she said it. It's a high IQ outfit. And who am I to argue with her? Guys, welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. Glad to see everybody on a beautiful Wednesday night. I wasn't sure I was going to have a voice tonight, and I don't have a great voice, so my normal robust delivery might be a little dialed back. But yeah, as you come in, hit the like button. I know I don't say that enough. People come get on to me. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. We hit 250,000 subscribers the other night. Great progress. Great progress. We have a brilliant show lined up, if I do say so myself. If you're a humble host, being humble would tell you, we got a great show lined up tonight. It's a high IQ show, building off of Candace's high IQ show earlier. You know, we've been alleged to have been in cahoots. Don't believe that, but there have been allegations that way. But no, it's not true. We just, when high IQ people are both working on things, high IQ things happen at the same time from time to time. So we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the creation of a patsy. Man, I hope my voice holds up tonight. We're going to get to the creation of a patsy. We're going to open that way. It's going to be using a very, very current example of what looks like to me a out in the open patsy creation. It's just plain as day. You can see it. And we'll get to that. It's pretty devastating, frankly. And then we'll talk at some point about what is the most critical evidence we don't know where it is. There's a piece of evidence that we don't know where it is. It's not a rifle. It's not a bullet. It's not a text message. There's a very critical piece of evidence. We know it existed at one time. We don't know where it currently is. And finally, we are going to look at some court pleadings because I think TPUSA may be breaking the law on a regular basis, on almost a daily basis. It's my opinion, of course. Everything's my opinion. Everything you listen to here is my opinion. It's often quite good, but I do couch it in those terms so that we can perform a program without the hassle from lawyers. So when we go over the pleadings, I am going to raise an issue that keeps popping up because I greatly enjoyed the other night, Dave Smith debating the Adam guy from PBD podcast. I thought it was brilliant. They did it on the Piers Morgan show. He just totally obliterated him, annihilated him. It wasn't even close. And the reason is the guy showed up and it did not look like they had a subject in mind that they were going to debate. And so they were debating two different topics. And Dave, a skilled, very masterful debater, forced the guy into a position he didn't want to be in, and then all he could do is hurl insults. It's masterful. He made him look very, very foolish, but at the same time, we were robbed of the opportunity to hear an actual debate on the issue. So when I bring up the charging documents today, we're going to look a little bit at the information, particularly at the probable cause statement inside the statement of facts inside the information. We're going to look at what it is they claim they have. And when we do that, I'm going to take that opportunity to explain why I think debates on this are premature. I talked to Zach Costello about this. I said, I know you enjoy debating. You're very good at it. He's a very, very smart guy, very well-spoken kid. I say kid, he's about as old as I am, or maybe a little younger, but maybe 10 or 15 years younger. Who am I kidding? But you know, if it's premature to debate, it's premature to debate. It doesn't matter what doesn't matter if you're a masterful debater, if the facts are not there because the case is not yet developed. So we'll talk about that. We'll get to all that. But I do want to get into, man, I don't have a ton of voice tonight. I do want to get into the opening statement because I think it brilliantly, frankly, I was shocked that this pleading even exists, but I think it brilliantly encapsulates sort of some of the things we're seeing in the Tyler Robinson case, the Charlie Kirk investigation. And so let me get into that because the more I talk, the fewer words I have in my very limited, very weak voice today. So with that said, this is your opening statement. A filing was quietly submitted today in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia in the case styled United States versus Brian Cole Jr. A filing like the one filed today ordinarily would go completely unnoticed by nearly everyone except for those with the closest connection to the case. But this is no ordinary case. It is the DC pipe bomber case. It stems from the pipe bomb supposedly placed shortly before the January 6th protest in 2021. And this is no ordinary filing, as this filing provides us with a neatly detailed and conveniently concrete illustration of how federal investigative processes can result in the framing of a patsy while disregarding leads pointing to a government agent. The motion was filed on behalf of the defendant, Brian Cole. It was brought under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 17C1, governs subpoenas. It requests the early return of subpoena materials. It requests the early return of subpoenas to obtain materials related to the pipe bomb incidents. The filing is stunning. In fact, the filing is so stunning, I expect it to be ignored by basically everyone in power and all of the media lackeys who run cover for them. The filing highlights the government's handling of a woman named Shauni Kerkhoff. Shauni Kerkhoff is a former United States Capitol police officer who was on duty at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Shauni Kerkhoff later left the Capitol Police to take a job with the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. Shauni Kerkhoff apparently at one point was designated as a person of interest in the pipe bomb investigation. The FBI conducted concurrent inquiries into both Kerkhoff and Brian Cole, including surveillance, yet the motion indicates that the evidence developed against Kerkhoff stunningly was not pursued, at least not remotely as intensely as the evidence against Brian Cole. And at this point, I want to clarify something. Everything in the opening statement tonight is my opinion. It's based on my review of the motion released today. It is an informed opinion, but it is in fact an opinion. So I'm going to state things as facts, but just understand it's my opinion formed based on what I've read. And I read the whole thing. The scenario outlines at least one way patsies can be framed. The process doesn't require explicit directives from high-level officials or even fabricated evidence. Instead, it operates through routine bureaucratic decisions, classification protocols, selective resource deployment, and the inherent incentives government institutions have to minimize internal exposure. In other words, they want to shield their own employees. The following analysis is going to examine these stages in sequence, because this is the way these types of framings can occur. And I anchor it in the facts, and I also anchor it in the legal arguments that are set forth in Cole's motion. The first stage involves the emergence of these parallel leads during the initial investigation. In the pipe bomb case, the FBI developed information identifying Kerkhoff as a potential suspect, and they did so early in the investigation. This included her physical presence and her role on the day in question. And it also includes subsequent data points that warranted closer scrutiny. Simultaneously, investigators assembled a case around Cole. This is an individual with no affiliations to law enforcement or to the intelligence community. So it makes sense that agencies have to allocate finite resources, allocate finite investigative resources when multiple leads surface in a single investigation. The standard protocol allows for prioritization based on particular factors, like the perceived strength of the evidence, the suspect's background, the operational implications of pursuing each avenue. In my opinion, it appears to be common practice that leads involving current or former employees of law enforcement agencies and people in intelligence agencies often receive compartmentalized treatment. For example, the motion states that the surveillance on Kerkhoff proceeded, but the motion also suggests that the resulting materials were not integrated into the investigation, at least not with the same transparency as Brian Cole's activities. This bifurcation creates a foundation for an alternate narrative centered on the outsider. Classification and compartmentalization represents the second key. Government records frequently assign higher security designations when they touch on agency personnel, particularly when it involves transitions between places like the police and the CIA. In the Cole motion, The defense wants access to those FBI records. They want the records on surveillance, they want the interview materials, and they want the related intelligence products. And while this classification serves legitimate national security purposes most of the time, it also necessarily functions to restrict, the visibility of that information. Defense counsel in cases like this frequently encounter barriers when you request discovery because the materials may be withheld under claims of privilege. And again, these claims are made unilaterally by the government you're trying to get them from. So the motion released today attempts to compel that production before trial. And it's demonstrating that this could be admissible evidence. We are seeking admissible evidence, they actually say, central to the defense. Specifically, the defense is requesting access to exculpatory material or impeachment material, information about an alternate suspect. And without early intervention, the Patsy's case proceeds. And there's a curated set of facts that exclude the Patsy. The third stage concerns the management of specific evidentiary tools. Specifically, in this case, we're talking about polygraph examinations. Now, I know that they're not necessarily always admissible or sometimes ever admissible, but they're key facts when you're looking at exculpatory evidence. The filing states that on November 6th, 2025, Kerkhoff took an FBI polygraph. Polygraph was related to her potential involvement in placing the pipe bombs. She provided responses to questions about whether she had placed the pipe bombs. According to the filing released today, and I'm just taking it off the filing, the polygraph examiner documented that she failed. Additionally, the polygraph examiner stated she displayed a very controlled reaction. In other words, this is something the polygraph examiners look for to determine if someone's trying to deceive. The polygraph results serve as an important internal investigative function. But when they're administered to an outsider, a failed polygraph result typically prompts an intense scrutiny. It prompts additional interviews. It warrants additional information. By contrast, the defense motion says that when Kerkhoff failed, none of that happened. It did not trigger any comparable escalation. Instead, the file appears to have been deprioritized despite the failed polygraph. This disparate treatment reflects practical considerations. Confronting a government employee with a failed polygraph carries risks. You might face internal reviews. There could be potential liability for the agency that employed her, maybe even scrutiny that could infect their relationships with other government agencies. The Patsy, by contrast, faces none of these. There are no institutional protections for the Patsy. Brian Cole's prosecution advanced without even disclosure. And this allows the government to present a streamlined case focusing only on his alleged actions. Resource allocation and narrative construction, this is the fourth stage. This is when the Patsy is really framed by the narrative. Once you have a viable outsider that has emerged as a potential primary target, investigators start applying standard techniques that strengthen that narrative. They look at cell phone data, financial records, social media activity, witness statements. These elements are aggregated into a coherent story, a coherent theory of guilt. At the same time, everything looking into the insider has diminished. In Cole's case, the motion argues that the government's awareness of Kerkhoff as a person of interest and its surveillance of her coincided with the development of the case against Cole. By the time the formal charges were filed, the public and judicial narrative had kind of coalesced around the Patsy. Prosecutors received their discovery packages, shaped by these earlier choices. These emphasize the outsider's vulnerability and omit references to the protected insider. The result is a defendant who appears isolated and culpable. The defendant lacks the network of allies that might otherwise prompt a deeper examination of alternative suspects. The protection of the insider undergirds the entire sequence. When you're evaluating whether to charge an insider, you have to weigh the government's decision not only on the sufficiency of the evidence against the insider, but also all of the collateral consequences that follow from charging a government official. For example, you have to look at things like congressional oversight hearings, maybe potential impacts to the budget, damages to the very institutions of which the investigators are a part. So pursuing a patsy has none of these risks. It shuts off nearly all of these outcomes. And the Cole motion, the defense motion today, peels back that curtain a little bit. It gives us an opportunity to see this dynamic playing out in real life and in real time. The motion seeks to pierce the compartmentalization before trial and force the consideration of evidence against Kerkhoff at a stage when it can still influence the case. So the motion released today represents at least one limited measure available to a patsy. The filing demonstrates how a defendant can argue that specific identifiable materials like FBI surveillance logs, interview notes, polygraph documentation, or any other interagency communications are relevant and admissible. The legal standard under 17C requires a showing that the subpoenas seek evidence that is admissible. It has to be relevant, and it's not otherwise procurable with reasonable diligence. We don't know how the court will rule on this. Whether it will be resolved in favor of the defendant really depends on the court's willingness to engage all of these factors we've talked about. In many instances, unfortunately, classification claims and government assertions of irrelevance prevail. And believe it or not, this actually happens. And when it does, it typically seals the fate of the patsy. Broader operational patterns designed on their face for good governance and good government unfortunately contribute to the outcome. For example, agencies have these protocols for handling sensitive subjects. And these protocols include things like layered review processes before any action can be maintained against an insider. These protocols are designed to protect sources and methods, but they create predictable asymmetries. Think about it. When a patsy's charged, that all works against the patsy. Even if the patsy was charged without a conscious decision to frame a patsy for a crime he didn't commit, the patsy's still likely doomed. Most patsies have limited resources for self-defense, and they don't have the security clearances necessary to challenge things like classification. So once charged, the patsy's pretrial detention and natural incentives to take a plea further reduce the likelihood of a prolonged challenge to the government's narrative. The outcome, of course, is a guilty plea or a guilty verdict, almost always, against the patsy. Public reporting focuses on the conviction of the identified defendant, and internal agency records about the insider remain restricted forever. In the Cole matter, the motion is trying to disrupt this. It wants to compel the production of these materials while they can still be used. But even if it's not granted, whether it's granted or not, the filing itself underscores that for most investigators and attorneys working on a case against a patsy, framing the patsy often emerges from just the ordinary functioning of government, the ordinary functioning of investigative bureaucracy. Usually it's not some sort of exceptional misconduct. Now, let me say it a different way. For most of those people working on the case against the patsy, this is the investigators, the prosecution, it does not require a conspiracy beyond the cumulative effect of routine choices: classify, compartmentalize, prioritize, and resolve. And that is, mercifully, on my voice, your opening statement. Guys, this could be a long show. I'm not sick. I don't feel sick at all, but my voice is absolutely toast. That's why I have a toast, a blackberry soda, probiotic kombucha by Hum, not a product placement. All right. I want to jump into tonight. I've got to recap an episode we did on March 15th. So that was a little over 2 weeks ago. Because I want to show you how cutting edge you are if you watch this program. Yesterday, news broke about a bullet fragment. Or Tuesday, I guess, news broke. Monday, news broke about a bullet fragment. Everyone was talking about it yesterday. Everybody was talking about it Monday night. We even covered it Monday night. But I'm going to take you back to March 15th. If you look at the top up here, to a program we did on this very show, bullet fragment allegedly recovered from Charlie Kirk autopsy inconclusive. Guys, we were 15 days ahead of the news. We were 15 days ahead of everyone else. I'll play a brief clip of that right now. I want to go to totally switch gears. Put Tucker to the side. I want to go to a motion that was recently unsealed in the Tyler Robinson case. And I want to raise a couple of issues that I see in the motion. The first issue is that this motion should have never been sealed in the first place. I think the judge is allowing things, and I just pulled the case file today. The judge has so many filings under seal. It's not proper. It can't be proper. This is inappropriate. It should not be happening. The judge needs to get control over this case. He's letting the lawyers walk all over him. So that's the first thing I want to raise. The second thing is, I really just wanted to play that part again because I pulled the case file again today. The amount of documents under seal in this file are absolutely ludicrous. Guys, we do not live in North Korea. We don't live in North Korea. We don't live in Cuba. We don't live in, I don't know where else, China maybe, whoever else has secret proceedings against their political opponents or criminals. This should be a public case. This is a routine murder. This is a routine murder. People get charged with murder every day in state court. This is a state court murder case in Utah County, Utah. Why is anything sealed? Who cares? There's too much unknown here. And it's a problem mostly created by the defense, admittedly. But it's becoming a problem because, and it's something we'll play in a little bit, people are taking sides based on evidence they don't have. And they're saying stupid things like, hey, Tyler Robinson's 100% guilty. I can tell you that right now. There's no way he didn't do it. You haven't even seen like a third of the legal filings, assuming you're like me and actually open it every now and then and read them. I think I've read most everything in there. Assuming you're like me and every couple of weeks, every week you open it and see what's been filed in the last week, you haven't even seen everything. And even if you read everything publicly available, you've only seen like a third of the legal filing. So that's problem number one. This should not have anything sealed. This is not a sexual crime where we're protecting the identity of a victim, and I'm all in favor of sealing stuff in that situation. This is not involving children, either children of a violent crime or a sexual crime, or even children, dealing with divorce. Whatever. I am all in favor of that. Children don't have the right to put objections on the record. They don't have the right to review evidence. They don't have the right to hire their own attorneys. And so they are basically without protection. So I'm fine sealing all of that. But a 22-year-old kid murders a 31-year-old man. Do you know how many cases are like that pending in America right now? Millions. Open the file. What's in it? I want to know. I want to know if our government is pursuing the right guy. And if they are, I want to know they're doing it well on my behalf, on your behalf. And if they're pursuing the wrong guy, I want to know because I have a right to know as my government prosecuting innocent people. This is something we all have a right to do. You can go down to almost any courthouse in America, walk into the clerk's office. They either have a computer terminal or they'll start pulling files off the back. What do you want to see? It might be a small charge associated with it, but it's usually nominal, a few bucks. I'm so mystified by the desire to seal all of this, considering especially all of the weird things that happened in the immediate aftermath, like the removal of the SD cards, paving over the crime scene, finding a gun dogs couldn't find. Like there are a lot of weird things that happened in the immediate aftermath of this. We'll talk about some more of them tonight. But I wanted to play it for that reason, but I also wanted to play it. Let me play it just another minute or so at most. In this motion is disclosed something we didn't know. And it has to do with a bullet fragment, a bullet jacket fragment that was recovered during the autopsy. So I want to get to this. Let me see if I can make this a little larger here for you. So this is a motion filed by the news media. And you got a list of all the people here. Salt Lake Tribune. That's what I wanted to get to. It wasn't even Tyler's team that filed it. It wasn't the state that filed it. This motion was filed by the news media. And it's up there on the screen. You can look at it. The Salt Lake Tribune, St. George News, the AP, Fox 13, Mallard County Chronicle Progress, KOAL Radio, KEUR FM Radio, Lehigh Free Press, this is CBS Broadcasting, Fox News Media, Law and Crime. This is a motion filed by the media. But for the motion filed by the media, we would not have, your humble host and our humble audience, our very high IQ audience, would not have known all the way back on March 15th that there was a bullet jacket fragment. I have no idea why it just broke into the news yesterday. And I do, because the defense finally filed a motion. But it was buried in there. I found it buried in there. Just happened to trip over it. But it was just buried in the middle of their thing. It might have even been in a footnote, or is it in like a little, in my mind, I can picture it. It was at the bottom of a page, kind of indented. So I don't remember if it was a footnote or if it was just a quotation that kind of widow orphaned over a couple of pages. But we covered that. And so I was a little mystified yesterday when everyone started making hay about it. But them making hay about it allowed me to kind of rethink my thoughts on it. And I think it's just absolutely devastating to the prosecution's case. Just devastating. I started watching videos this morning about why bullets fragment. Why would a 30-06 bullet fragment? Almost always they fragment when they hit something incredibly hard, like a femur, a hip bone, a shoulder blade. I dare say, if they get the right expert, they'll have trouble countering the defense's position that a bullet does not fragment in the neck. I'm going to tell you right now, I did a lot of research very early. It just doesn't look like it happens. So I think this is devastating. I think this is really devastating, but I don't want to get all tripped up on it. What I do want to talk about is, I'm going to move that piece. I want to talk specifically about a piece of evidence that's missing. We're talking about all this evidence there is. We have all this evidence. We know where it is. We know there's a screwdriver. There's dispute over whose DNA is on the screwdriver. Where was the screwdriver found? Could the rifle have been used without the screwdriver? A lot of discussion about the screwdriver. We're aware it exists. We don't know how it got there. We don't know whether it was used. We don't know if Tyler Robinson even knew it was there, but we are aware there's a screwdriver. Become an important piece of evidence. The second thing is the gun. There's a gun there. It was found. Whether it was placed there, whether Tyler Robinson brought it there, whether somebody else brought it there, all that is up for discussion. All that's up for debate. Well, his DNA was on it, dummy. I have a lot of guns. My DNA's on all of them. I clean them. I put them back with bare hands. DNA's on it. Sometimes you don't clean them. You just put them back. DNA's all over it, right? So we're aware of that. But we're aware that the evidence exists. But there's a key piece of evidence that we know is missing. And we know it's missing because Candace Owens first told us it was missing, and no one ever disputed her. And as I look through the affidavit, as I look through the information, what we're calling the charging document, colloquially as investigators, everybody's referring to the charging document, is technically called the information. But as we look at these documents, there is a key piece of evidence missing that's not identified. And I want to go through a few clips here because I want to show you why I'm so concerned that this evidence is missing. I will start with the number one podcaster in America and let her explain to you what she thinks initially happened to this key piece of evidence.
Challenger go by. Source tells me that they saw him dropping, near this Dairy Queen, that there's a cemetery, and he was dropping clothes into that cemetery. Now, we have not gotten anything from the feds about where the clothing was dropped off, where he changed, nothing.
I remember that. I logged that in the back of my head at the time, and I thought, what a weird story. What a weird story. And then the story got weirder because after she tells us about the clothes being thrown away, I remember watching a video from the very talented creator, Ryan Matta, where he showed us this video here. Now, you might think, but what does this have to do with clothes? Well, I will tell you in just a moment. But I want you to watch this real quickly. We've watched this before. Let me put it on a little faster speed. We don't need it on regular. So I'm going to put it on 2x. This thing's going to fly. And I'm putting it on mute. All right, that car in the background. Oh, I'm pointing at my screen. That's not helping. This car in the background up here on the top left. That is allegedly Tyler Robbins' car. It rolls in, it parks. Now keep in mind this is on 2X. So everything's happening twice as fast. Parks for a little while. You'll see this white SUV in the foreground here. This first car parked right here. Not this front row next to the columns, but this first row in the back that's kind of to the left and right of where we are. You'll see it roll out of its parking spot in a moment. And when it does, it will kind of go to the left, circle around, and pull behind Tyler Robinson, and they will drive off together. Almost as if they were together. And I would present this if someone was asking me about the position of whether or not Tyler Robinson worked alone, I would point to a video like this. I would say, what do you see here? Because here's how I would explain it to a jury. What do you think a jury would do? That to me is a fruitful discussion more than, Okay, so you saw the SUV pull out. It will now circle around inexplicably. There it is right there. And right as it pulls up to here, Tyler Robinson moves and they pull out together and off they go. So it looks like in that situation, at least to me, it looks like they were together. That's not why I wanted to show you the video. I wanted to show you the video because of how the video was obtained. The video was obtained because whoever works at that store, the feds showed up and said, hey, we'd like to look at your surveillance footage. And the employee says, why? Why do you want to look at our surveillance footage? Well, we want to look at your surveillance footage because Tyler Robinson's phone pinged in this location, and we want to know if you picked him up. That was an interesting data point. So we have a data point where Candace says she has a source who said he was seen in the cemetery throwing clothes away, dropping clothes off, whatever. Then we have someone say that his phone pinged in this location. And so they went over to get that. And now I want to go to a couple of the documents that we have in this. Because one of the documents, is the probable cause affidavit. This is the first statement of facts that was raised in this case. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, early morning hours, Robinson was observed in clothing consistent with the surveillance images. And it describes him in a plain maroon t-shirt, light colored shorts, black hat, white logo, and light colored shoes. This leads us with the understanding that he did not have his black clothing that he was alleged to have had on at some point. So when he's first spotted, he's in this plain maroon t-shirt. Weird, huh? Lots of plain maroon t-shirts that day. Light colored shorts, black hat with white logo, light colored shoes. At some point, he then changes into the black outfit. This goes the story. And then he goes to drop the gun off, allegedly, in the woods, changes clothes, I guess back into this, I'm assuming. And then goes to the cemetery to drop off the clothes. It was interesting to me. Because as I think about this, I think, where is that black set of clothes? And I'll tell you why I'm so concerned with the black set of clothes in a second. Now we go to the information. We're going to look at this a few times tonight, but I want to go to the charging document and I want to look at the clothing again. Because on count 4, we'll go down to the statement in a moment, but I want to start here on count 4. On count 4, on the obstruction of justice, is a second-degree felony. He did, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent investigation, destroy, conceal, or remove the clothing he wore during the shooting. He destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting. But we know where he went. We know where he went. We know he went by the DVD store, where whatever that store was, where they had a video of him driving outside. We know at least one witness told Candace he was seen at the cemetery. And more importantly, we know that the feds or the state have the capacity to retrace his steps moment by moment because there's a cell phone. The cell phone is what led them to the DVD store. Now, what we don't know is, was Tyler Robinson in possession of his cell phone or did somebody else have it? In other words, if you're going to commit a crime, tell me what makes more sense. I have to go, someone's asked me to conspire with them to commit a crime. And they say, your job is to go on campus and surveil. I need you to surveil campus. And I say, okay, I can surveil campus. I'm a good surveiler. I've got great peepers, really good peepers. I don't hear so well, but I got great peepers. I can surveil the best with anybody. And so I go on campus to surveil. What am I likely not to take with me? My cell phone. I'll probably leave the cell phone in the hotel room, or I'll leave it in the car, or I will leave it at my house back in Utah. I don't know where I'm going to leave it, but I'm probably not going to take my cell phone because I'm not an idiot. If someone was trying to frame me for a crime, they might carry my cell phone that I'm not carrying and not even worried about where my cell phone is because I don't have it. I left it in a drawer. I used to have a friend that was so paranoid, he had a microwave in his office. And every time you walked into his office, you had to put your cell phone in the microwave. That's crazy. That's the kind of people I know. But the cell phone becomes a real issue because the cell phone, we view the natural, we all, instinctively view the cell phone as an extension of us, right? It's always next to us. It's sitting right here when we go to sleep. It's sitting right here while we work. It's in our pocket when we're out walking around. You feel naked without it. You don't go to the store without it. You don't go to the gym without it. You don't go to work without it. You don't go into the kitchen without it. You take it in there so you can watch a podcast while you listen. Your cell phone's always within a couple of feet of you. And so it's natural for us to assume that if his cell phone was pinging, that we would know where he is. But it's more natural for me, thinking like a criminal, that he wouldn't even know where his cell phone was. He would think he knew where his cell phone was because he left it at point A. But if somebody was trying to frame him and drive around a parking lot and be seen and park and make it really obvious I'm being seen, someone might take that cell phone with them. So I'm looking at this more of if people close to Tyler who would have had access to his cell phone that he dropped off because he's not an idiot and he's not going to walk on campus with his cell phone while he's trying to pull off the crime of the century. Someone else might have grabbed his cell phone. And it might have been someone else driving his car. Hey, you go surveil, I'll take your car. Or maybe don't take your keys either. They got RFID in them or whatever. We don't know. Leave your keys, leave your car, park away from campus, walk into campus. And then someone else takes his keys, they take his cell phone, and they drive around and they leave a trace of Tyler Robinson all over town. Not only that, they might have access to his code if it's a boyfriend or whatever, right? Or maybe he just doesn't lock his phone. There are people like that. And so you can text anything you want. You can play games. You can get on Discord. There's all kinds of things you can do. If you have someone's phone, you can be them. You can be them. You might not be able to log into banking, but you could probably log into the Wordle. Log into Discord, maybe. I don't know. If you know the password. And so I thought about this because of the tip of where his clothes were at the cemetery. I thought, what a weird place to put clothes. But I actually think that might have been him at the cemetery. Because by that time, hours had passed. He might be completely unaware of what's happened. If you're Tyler Robinson, the patsy, you might have no idea that they've framed you for this, that they took your cell phone onto campus and your cell phone up to the roof, and they got some guy's business partner's son that looks just like you to walk up the stairwell or whatever. Or some guy named Robbie walk up the stairwell. I don't know. You might have no idea. So you're just there eating a McFlurry, right? You're getting your chicken tendies. You've got a Blizzard. Maybe you like M&Ms. Maybe you like Reese's Pieces. You're not even thinking about murder at this point. You're just sitting there eating your tendies and your Blizzard, not in a care in the world. Someone calls you and says, hey, get rid of those clothes. Oh, why? Well, you were spotted on campus in them. You need to get rid of them. There's a cemetery across the street. Go throw them over there. Regardless, the clothes become an important piece of evidence. Think about the consequences had he not thrown the clothes away. Like, he didn't throw his maroon shirt and shorts away, and he was seen in those. Think about the consequences if those clothes were recoverable. What kinds of evidence could we get from them? Well, we would obviously be able to get DNA evidence from him. He would sweat in them. He might snot in them. We sneeze. We just have aerosolized air that we breathe in and out. All this is captured. All of it has DNA in it. And it's all falls on you and it captured. And sensitive medical equipment can pick that up. You can run tests on it, like PCR tests. You can amplify the DNA, and you might be able to figure out whether it matches Tyler Robinson or not. So DNA is one thing we could get off of. But the other thing we might be able to get off of them is the gravel dust on top of the roof. Might be able to get the gravel dust on top of the roof. If you lie down in a prone position in gravel, you're going to get little pieces around here. It would be lime gravel. I don't know what they have out there. Is it a lava rock? Is it sandstone? I don't know what kind of gravel they use out in Utah, but there's some kind of gravel on that roof. And you'll have particular dust that can be matched there. You might have pollens that blew in that day or that week, and they might be able to match those to what's on your clothing. You also might have gunshot residue. If you take a 30-06 rifle and it's shouldered, which a 30-06 almost would have to be shouldered, and your eye is right over that eye, he's kind of wall-eyed if you look at him. And that might make it difficult for him to shoot anyway, but that's neither here nor there. That's for other people to argue. But you've got your sights down there and you're right over that bolt. Well, there's going to be a primer explosion. There's going to be a gunpowder explosion. There's going to be gunshot residue. It's going to blast back on you. If you go shooting, you smell like this stuff. It's in your beard. It's on your cheeks. It gets on your hands. You can smell it. Even if you just take one shot, you can smell it. So that would be on those clothes. Now, that might be exculpatory had he not thrown them away. If he was being set up as a patsy and somebody said, hey, go throw your clothes away. There's a cemetery across the street. Just chunk them in there. And someone else comes behind, picks them up, and steals them. Or they just stay until the trash is picked up a couple days later, whatever. But the reality is the law enforcement supposedly knew where his phone was at all times. And I'm curious if his phone pinged into that cemetery. I'm curious because I don't know who gave Candace the tip that he was seen there. And it's possible somebody that's framing him is calling and leaving tips with people. I've thought of this. It's why I'm very cautious about going forward with tips I get. Because if you're involved in framing him, you might put him places that he otherwise wasn't. If you knew his phone was there and you knew somebody was framing him. So that's a key piece of evidence that's missing. It's his clothing. His clothing could put whoever was in those clothing on the roof. The DNA could put those clothing on him. And you begin to put a picture together. But without that, can you put him on the roof? I want to go back to the charging documents for just a moment. And I want to ask, can we put him on the roof? Can we put him on the roof? So before I show you this, let me explain what the purpose of an information is in Utah or in most states. In order for the government to bring you charge you with a crime, the government has to do certain things. You can't just snatch somebody off the street because you don't like them. And this is why we have a representative democracy or a representative republic and not a kingdom. Because in the old days, the king could just have his people snatch you up, never charge you, and you just stayed in jail without charges for a long time. But we have laws in place to prevent that. One of the mechanisms is that there has to be some sort of a legal filing that's signed off on by two different branches of government in order to hold you against your will. One of those is the executive branch, the law enforcement agency, the FBI, the state police, the attorney general's office. Somebody has to come up with information that outlines a series of charges against you and a plain, short statement of facts from which a member of another branch, the judicial branch, can then decide whether or not those two branches working together get to decide whether or not your liberty can temporarily be deprived of. A lot of states require a grand jury. Not all states. Some states allow it to be filed by information, including Utah. That's what we have here. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And information, like I said, has been colloquially called, in this case, a charging document. People keep referring to the charging document, and I'm fine with that because that's what it is. It's a statement of the charges against you. It has a list of the counts. I think there's 7 counts in this case. There's a list of the counts against you. It has a very short statement of facts after each one, or at least something that puts you on notice with what you're charged with. Then at the end, there's a 2-page maybe statement of facts as they see them. That's all we have in this case. That's all we have. There was, before this information was filed, there was something called a probable cause affidavit. So these are 2 different documents. The probable cause affidavit is to go to the judge and get a warrant. That's to arrest you, not to keep you in jail more than a couple of days. That's to arrest you. That's before you go see the judge the first time. Under Utah law, they have then a time period of which they have to produce an information, a statement of the charges against you, the different counts you're charged with. You're charged with murder, you're charged with robbery, you're charged with, forging checks, you're charged with, whatever, kicking over someone's daffodils. I don't know. You're charged with something. They have to tell you what you're charged with. And then they have to give a plain statement of the facts as currently decided. The key thing about an information is the jury will actually see most of this document, or a lot of this document, key parts of this document. The jury will not see the statement of the facts, but the jury will see the charges. They'll read it out loud in all likelihood to him, unless he waives it. They'll read it out loud to the jury. They'll read it out loud to the defendant in front of the jury when the trial gets started. So I'm going to show it to you because this could become an important document. But the key thing to know is these things often are modified before trial. Sometimes they're modified during trial. Sometimes they'll modify it to add new charges. Sometimes they'll modify it to take charges away. If they add a new charge and the new charge rests on new facts, they have to go back in front of the judge for a new preliminary hearing. And so when I tell people, let me pull this back down for a second. When I tell people I don't want to debate, here's why. Because the only thing you have to go on is this. This is the only thing you can hit me with. This is the only facts we're aware of is what's in this document. That's it. Now, I'll admit, some of the facts in this document look pretty damning. They do. And if every fact in this document was true, in other words, if Tyler was not allowed to call witnesses in his favor, if he was not allowed to offer rebuttal witnesses to these facts, if he was not allowed to cross-examine the witnesses who will speak to these facts, if he was not allowed to do any defense whatsoever, this would be really bad. It'd be really bad. But that we know that's not true. We know that's not how the criminal justice system works. These facts will be presented, or facts similar to these, likely will be presented by a prosecuting body at some point. And that prosecutor will call people up. These are not, what you're going to read tonight is not evidence. Evidence comes from the witness seat, and the witness seat only. It doesn't come from the lawyer's mouth. It doesn't come from documentation unless it's presented to the witness. Has to come in through a witness in the witness seat. Someone has to authenticate it. Somebody has to okay it. Somebody has to say, yes, that's accurate. You don't just get to dump a bunch of documents in front of the jury and say, have fun. Tell me what happened. That's not the way courtrooms work. Likewise, the statements you see in this charging document are not going to go in front of the jury. The statements have to go in court. They have to be said in court in all likelihood. I mean, there's small exceptions to that. Very small exceptions. But I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to run through it just so you can kind of get familiar with what it looks like. Because there's an important point I'm going to make about the clothing. About several things, actually. Number one, aggravated murder. This is the big one everyone's talking about. This is the reason we know this case. He knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual and caused the death. Knowingly caused the death. In all likelihood, the jury will hear that exact paragraph read, just like it is right there. There's a victim targeting enhancement. Don't worry about that. Number two, discharged a firearm causing serious bodily injury. Well, you think, well, that seems duplicative. Well, it is, but that's the way criminal charges work. They hit you with everything they possibly can. In the presence of a child, it has a little enhancement. Okay, obstruction of justice. This is where it kind of gets fun. He concealed or removed the firearm. In other words, their claim is he used the 30-06 and then he moved the 30-06 away from the scene of the crime. They don't mention a 30-06 in here, actually. It's interesting to me, they don't. But he didn't. But then he moves the gun away from the crime. Tampering with a witness. This is when he tells the witness to withhold testimony. Delete the text messages. Tampering with a witness. Don't talk to the police. And then do a violent crime in front of a child younger than 14. That's it. That's what the jury will hear. Those 7 paragraphs and the accompanying stuff with them. The interesting stuff down here, everything on this probable cause statement, this doesn't go in front of the jury. Jury's not going to hear this part read out loud. I don't believe in Utah they will. No normal state would read this part out loud. It gives you the name of the guy who collected all these facts. And then here's where they start talking about over the next approximately 33 hours. This is where we get the bolt action 30-06. Keep in mind, the jury is not going to hear this stuff. But this is, according to Brian Davis, a brief recitation of the facts as he understands them. Now, you'll know Brian Davis did not probably look at the bolt action 30-06. He probably was not there when the shooter turned himself in. He probably did not personally conduct the DNA test. And I hope you see what I'm getting at here. He probably did not verify and authenticate the text messages between Tyler and Lance, alleged text messages. He probably didn't authenticate that Tyler told Lance not to talk to the police. And I don't know whether he personally verified there were children present or not. Nevertheless, he signs a probable cause statement. So what does that tell you? Any thinking person, not bloodthirsty, not firing from the hip, not desperate to get a conviction because they don't want to be investigated. I'm talking about people like Andrew Colvin, Erica Kirk, and others. Any thinking person would look at this and say, okay, well, this is just Brian Davis's understanding of what happened. And Brian Davis didn't personally verify any of this stuff. Brian Davis just read where other people supposedly had verified this stuff. He just looked at a case file. And you have to ask yourself, is everything in a case file accurate? Is every single thing in a case file accurate? No, typically not. Typically, it's not accurate, everything in the case file. Oftentimes, the government will include something in a statement of facts and then later realize, oh, that witness melted down. He didn't hold up. A witness may recant. A witness may not be available to testify. A witness may die. And you lose that piece of evidence. I've had cases where the indictment said that my client tested positive for something. And then you get to trial and they don't have the documentation that he tested positive for anything. They have to throw that part out. It could be key to the whole case. And so it's important to understand as people say, look at the documents, we know what happened, that no, they don't. And this is why I don't want to debate on this issue. Because everything in this document has to be verified, has to be authenticated. You have to track down a witness. You have to subpoena that witness. That witness has to show up at trial. They're subject to cross-examination. The defense may put on rebuttal witnesses that heard or saw something else. This is only one man, Brian Davis. This is his interpretation of what's in the case file on the day he signs this. That's it. That's all this means. And it's just a procedural quirk of law that is required so that a judge can in good conscience hold someone against their will, with or without bail. That's the only purpose this serves, is to let the judge know we've at least investigated something. We have some reason that we believe he did this. So when we get here and we get down to the investigation part of it, this right here, this is when the investigation part starts, the UVU surveillance investigation. And we start to go through this and we look and we say at the moment of the shot, a UVU police officer was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. We have that on video. We know that's true. But we don't know what he was looking at. It says as soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats. Well, that's subject to investigation. What does it mean, scan the area for threats? What were you looking at? What were you looking for? Talk to me about your training that led you know where to look. And then this weird quirk here where believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound, he looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. What did every single person say that has talked about Charlie Kirk being there that day? What did every single person say? What did Mikey McCoy say? What did Frank Turek say? What did Blake Neff say? They all said the same thing. They were worried about the position because of how many rooftops there were. You were basically a sitting duck. Not to this cop. All those other roofs were irrelevant. This cop knew there was only one good roof, and he rushed over there. He didn't rush to the Sorensen Center, which actually makes a lot more sense because the bullet supposedly entered here and hit his spine. That's what we're told, right? And that angle makes a lot more sense from there than it does from there. But he didn't rush to the Sorensen Center. He rushed to the Losey Center. Not because he thought he heard the sound come from there. That's not what the probable cause statement says. But that's not what the, what do they call this in Utah? Probable cause statement. That's not what the probable cause statement says. That's not why he rushed to that location. He rushed to that location not because he thought he heard a sound come from there, but because he thought it looked like a potential sniper position, a potential shooting position. Even though Blake, Mikey, Frank, everyone who walked in looked around and thought, my goodness, this place is covered by high ground. People could be anywhere, but not this guy. He knew precisely where it came from. That's a little weird to me. And I would add, it's even weirder in the context of why the police officer was there in the first place. I'll explain why he was there in the first place. A day or two before the event, there was a text exchange between Dan Flood. You'll remember Dan Flood as the guy who stepped forward and grabbed his arm. That's Dan Flood. He was the guy to Charlie's rear right. He was standing there. He was the guy who was Charlie's personal bodyguard. He was his body man. Brian Harpole, Rick Cutler, these guys were contracted security designed for the particular event. Dan Flood is a full-time TPUSA employee. He was there for Charlie. And Dan Flood stepped forward, touched his right arm, and almost as soon as he did, a loud bang let out, and Charlie went down. So we have to think, how did the police officer in there end up on that roof in the first place? A few days before, there was a long series of texts. We've seen one small snippet of that, but there was a series of texts that went between the UVU police deputy chief, his name was Long, I believe, and Dan Flood. And in that series of texts, Dan Flood says, hey, some people tell me, some of the students tell me that there's a walkway above Charlie and that it's accessible. Like you don't have to climb to get up there. You can just walk out of a building and get on this walkway, and that they could throw rocks down on him. Can we block that off? Create some sort of temporary restriction? Or can we put a man up there? And the guy says, yeah, I got you covered. No sweat. And they did get him covered. That's the only walkway he was talking about. He wasn't talking about the Losey Center roof. He wasn't talking about the Sorensen Center roof. He wasn't talking about the administrative building roof. He was just talking about the walkway over the Hall of Flags directly above Charlie. And if you watch any of the video footage from that day, you'll notice there are two yellow police tapes. They created a temporary trespassing zone right there. Only law enforcement can make a trespassing zone because it's a crime, the trespass. So law enforcement blocked it off and said no one can stand there. It's interesting. It was always interesting to me because the only people who could have seen the sniper in the position, if that was indeed a sniper, would be people standing directly above Charlie. They would have the perfect vantage point to look right at the Losey building. So that's how he ended up there in the first place. The only reason he was there is because Dan Flood wanted him to be there. I've always found that a little curious. But he rushes over there to look for it. I will go back to the charging document, back to the information. Shooting positions adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. And then it tells you how to get up there. It tells you there are indentions in the gravel consistent with someone sitting there in a prone shooting position. And here's where we get to actual facts. Police reviewed surveillance covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing and drop onto the roof at 12:15 p.m. You've seen that footage, or you've seen some of that footage. What you end up with, so this is in the probable cause affidavit, a probable cause statement. What you end up with in this statement, what they're telling you they see, is a guy on camera who looks about that big, way off in the distance. He's blurry. You cannot see his face. You cannot see his ears. You can't see his nose. You can't see his eyes. You can't see his lips. You can't see his teeth. You can't see his mouth. You can't even tell that he's white or black or Hispanic. You can see nothing about the guy. You just see a little figure, a little tiny figure that takes up about 1/100th of the screen, maybe 1/50th of the screen. And when we see him scampering across the screen, scampering across the roof. That's all we have so far. And at 12:15, I'm going to take you back to it because we see this little short, dark figure show up at 12:15. And then what happens? Then the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time. Doesn't tell us how long. The camera again captured the individual running across the room and then low crawling to the area where the sniper prone position took place. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual rose and ran across the roof to the northeast. You cannot look at this paragraph. Now, don't worry about the rest of it. You cannot look at this paragraph and determine beyond a reasonable doubt that Tyler Robinson was the person captured on that image. You cannot. So why do I want to debate that? Why do I want to debate somebody who's limited to this set of facts? Because this is all we know. We're told a mountain of evidence exists. This is the mountain. We are climbing the mountain. We are climbing the mountain. And we're told that a little tiny 1/50th of a screen on grainy, distant surveillance footage captures an individual at 12:15, disappears from the screen for 7 to 8 minutes, can't see him anymore, and then reappears, runs over, lies down, face down, and then runs off the building. That's all we know. We don't know what happened in those 7 or 8 minutes, where the individual went, what he was doing. This is all we have. This is the mountain. This is the mountain of evidence. So that discovery led to an intensive review of surveillance recordings. And when they looked at it, they found that at approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered the campus from the north. How do we know it's the suspect? Well, let's keep reading. There's a guy in a black shirt with an American flag in its center, dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. We've seen that image. We've all seen the image. What did you know about the image? You can't see the guy's face. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. That says rarely, so it's possible they have a clear image of his face, but they have not released it to us. So we, reading this, are limited to what we've seen, which is the lower part of his mouth, not his nose, the lower part of his mouth, like 1/2 of one ear, a little bit of hair, and a hat. That's all we have. And most people who look at that also look at Tyler Robinson and say, that doesn't really look like him. There's your debate. You say it's him. I say I'm not sure. A jury would decide if that's reasonable doubt, assuming this is all the evidence we have. As he proceeds across campus, he's seen walking with an unusual gait, walks with very little bend in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. Did you see a rifle in his pants? I did not. The mountain of evidence suggests it's consistent with a rifle being held in his pants. Is that reasonable doubt? Yes, I think so. But someone else may say it's not. There's your debate. How fun. Great. The unusual gait continues until he's seen crossing the railway off the open walkway and onto the roof where he leaves the camera's view. Now, what's interesting about this? He maintains this unusual gait until we leave the high quality footage that shows at least part of his face. And then the gait goes away as if a person is walking completely differently when we see him again. And this time is 26 minutes later, 29 minutes later, something like that. 29 minutes later, we see him again, and he no longer has the weird walk. And what's crucial is when he's no longer walking the same, we can't tell if it's the same person. In other words, he disappeared for a long period of time. As a defense lawyer, I would ask, you jury, are you sure there wasn't another person there? And whoever this was that they captured on video, even if you believe it's my client, even if you believe it's Mr. Robinson, Tyler, might even call him Tyler on this because he's young. Even if you believe that was Tyler on the surveillance footage, are you sure that's the same guy on the roof? He disappeared from camera for 29 minutes. Guy like that would have time to change clothes, maybe hand those clothes to someone else. Maybe he would have time to go to the restroom and somebody else walks out of the restroom, a trained sniper, and goes up there and takes the shot, assuming there's even a shot. There are so many gaping holes for reasonable doubt in this statement right here that I think a seasoned defense lawyer would have a field day with this, because this is all the evidence that we have to work with at present. There might be more, but this is what we have for right now. And then the camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof, noticeably without the limping gait. Running across the roof, carrying an item consistent with the shape of a rifle. Again, you've seen the same video footage they're referencing. I saw no rifle. I saw nothing consistent with the shape of a rifle. Maybe someone would look at it and say, oh, there's a rifle right there. The jury would have to decide that. That's not much of a debate. We've just identified the issue. You think it's a rifle? I don't think it is. Suspect then seen climbing down from the roof, appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall, picks up the item, and runs to the northeast end of campus. That's the narrative we have so far. That's it. That's all we have. That's the mountain of evidence. Then they find the rifle, but notice they don't talk about the steps taken to find the rifle. They just say they find a rifle. They don't talk about bomb dogs. They don't talk about gun dogs. Keep in mind, you heard the radio dispatch call where they had every K9 available in the area on scene looking for stuff. It wasn't a dog who found anything. Allegedly, it was some, gumshoe FBI guy who rolled up on the scene and was like, hey, a rifle. Again, is that reasonable doubt? Could the rifle have been planted? You tell me. Did anyone see him ditch the rifle right there? I didn't even see him run into the woods. The surveillance cut off before then. I don't even know where he went. And then you get these weird memes that are on the rifle casings. They say DNA consistent with the rifle with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges in a towel. Again, if these are his bullets, if this is his gun, it makes perfect sense that his DNA would be on them. I noticed one of them doesn't have his DNA. That's a little weird. The same guy loaded it the same way. You would think it would be on all of them, but apparently not. They were unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of him, and they asked for the public's help to identify him. So let me just pause there, because that's the end of that day. That's all we knew. It's all they had. And I don't look at that and see a mountain of evidence. Everything else in the probable cause affidavit relies on 2 things. 1, Tyler Robinson's phone, or at least his text messages, and statements made by people who will be subject to cross-examination and may or may not have made the statements that were told. That's it. That's your mountain. That's your mountain of evidence. And they're told if you do away with 90% of this evidence, we still would have enough to convict him. There's that much evidence against him. Huh? You don't even know who was on the roof. You don't even know who was on the roof. The guy disappeared from the camera for 29 minutes. 29 of the minutes he was on campus. He wasn't in the camera frame. You can't even see the American flag. You can't see the logo on the hat. You can't see the style of the glasses. You have no way to identify that the person on the roof is the exact same person who you saw enter campus at 11:51. There's no way. Again, this is what we have. Now, they might have more information. They may have found more camera angles. They might have had cameras in the building and watched him the whole time, but not what we know publicly. And the people who are declaring he's 100% guilty and they know beyond a reasonable doubt and he needs the death penalty, and we need to end the investigation and stop looking into anything else and stop trying to evaluate evidence and stop any kind of decentralized public investigation. This is all they have. This is what they're going on. They don't have anything else. TPUSA, Erica Kirk, they have nothing other than this. This is what they have. And I would say the rest of the stuff is pretty thin, believe it or not. It's pretty thin. Because now we know that the round supposedly fired from the gun, from the prone position, from the Losi Center, cannot definitively be matched to the rifle they found. We know that the defense is asking for their own experts to review that evidence. We know they're asking for their own experts to review the DNA evidence and the materials that gave the opinion on the DNA. We know because we have eyewitnesses who spoke to the family. There were 6 family members in court when Brandy and Billy were there. 6. I would suggest if only 6 people showed up at my trial and they were all family members, they'd probably be pretty close to the family. They'd probably have talked to my parents and know what my parents are thinking. It's not like 200 Robinson family members were there. There were 6. 2 of them were mom and dad, which leaves 4. 4 other family members, probably close to the mom and dad if I had to guess. And we know that one of those 4 people disputed what's in this probable cause statement. They said, no, that's not how it happened. That this is not what happened. The probable cause statement says the dad recognized him. He got mom involved. Mom recognized him, got dad involved. They start texting him. They helped him turn. They say, no, that's not what happened. That what you're hearing is not true. Interesting. Interesting. Now, that's not admissible. You can't get Brandy and Billy on the stand. That's obviously hearsay. It's double hearsay. But you'll hear from mom and dad. They'll be on the stand at some point to tell you what happened that night. If mom and dad get up there and they confirm everything in here, that's going to be really problematic for Tyler. It's going to be devastating to his case. It might end it. Because without their statement, they don't have a lot of evidence. Without their statement that Tyler confessed to them, they don't have much at all. If mom and dad get up there and say, this isn't what happened, you guys made this up. I have no idea how that ended up in there. Tyler admitted to being sort of tangentially involved. He admitted to being at the scene. He admitted to being around it. He realized he was being framed as a patsy at this point, and he knew he was cooked, and he didn't want to live through it, and he wanted to die because he realized he made his life's biggest mistake. That's kind of that, and then all you have is what we've seen so far. On top of that, you're going to be in real trouble if you're the prosecution. Because the rest of this probable cause statement really rests on mom and dad having said what they say is in here. Because it says, Robinson's mother stated the following to the police. And apparently one family member says they don't believe Robinson's mother said this at all. Day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news, thought it looked like her son, called her son, asked where he was. He said he was homesick. Been homesick on the 10th. Mother expressed concern to her husband that they look like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. If that turns out to be true, that's going to be problematic because that places Robinson there. That doesn't mean he pulled the trigger, but it means at least his parents think he was the one in the photo. Doesn't mean he's the one running across the roof. We haven't gotten to that part yet. But it at least places him in the tunnel walking towards the building, and that becomes a problem. This is all pretty much irrelevant right here. This goes to motive, but doesn't really have much to do with actually shooting the guy. This is the father's alleged statement that he agreed the photo looked like his son. So now you have 2 parents identifying what looks like their son. This is key because this puts the rifle at the scene, a known rifle. If this statement's true, he believed that the rifle matched a rifle given to his son as a gift. Robinson contacted his son, asked to send proof of the photo of the rifle. He didn't respond. Then Robinson's father spoke with him and implied he planned to take his own life. So all this does is place the gun at the scene. It's a little more problematic. I mean, it's a little problematic, but it doesn't mean that he's the one that took the shot. Nowhere so far have we heard anyone say Robinson's parents said the son took the shot. Again, this is supposed to be a mountain of evidence, overwhelming. You could get rid of 90% of it. Even if everything in here is true so far, all we have is a Tyler Robinson sighting on campus and a gun near campus. That's it. And Tyler Robinson very upset that he's involved. The defense lawyer can explain, of course Robinson was upset. He realized at this point he was being framed as a patsy. And he understands the power of the federal government. He understands the power of the Utah State Police. And he understands if he's being framed as a patsy, his chances of getting out of it are very small. This is where it gets interesting, because the word here is implied. There's a lot of reasonable doubt in the word implied. As they discussed the situation, he implied he was the shooter and stated he didn't want to go to jail and wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained too much evil in the guy, spreads too much hate. And that's when they talked to the neighbor about turning himself in. Again, could be problematic if the parents get up there and say, yeah, he did imply he was the shooter, but he never actually said, I shot Charlie Kirk. Well, what did he say to imply? Well, they'll have to explain that. And maybe he just says, I just couldn't stand the hate. And then the defense lawyer gets up there in summation and says, well, yeah, he did not like Tyler. He agreed to take a gun to the scene. But he didn't pull any triggers. And he's not charged with taking a gun to the scene. He's charged with firing a gun and shooting and killing someone. And then you get the family friend telling him to turn himself in. And then Tyler says, I disposed of my clothes in different areas. Then it goes to the roommate, and the roommate says, these are the text messages we got. What's interesting about these text messages is, if I'm debating, we don't have any authentication on these text messages. We have no dates. We don't even know what platform they were on. Were these WhatsApp? Were these Signal? Were these iMessage? Were these SMS? Were these Discord? There's actually competing information in different sources about whether it was a Discord or whether it was a text message. But what's interesting about this is he had hoped to keep this secret until he died of old age. Yet he pre-confessed to the crime, allegedly, with a written confession at the house where the roommate lived. Even though he'd hoped to keep it secret till he was old age. He didn't tell his roommate. Even though he was carving bullets near the roommate, he didn't keep the roommate. He didn't tell the roommate. And then he pre-confessed in a written statement that no longer exists, I don't believe. If it existed, we would see it. It would be in here. Here's a handwritten note from Tyler Robinson confessing to the crime. That would be devastating. That would be absolutely devastating. It doesn't exist. In fact, we're told in other sources that they had to recreate it. I don't know what that means. I don't know what they had to recreate it means. That mean they had Lance Twiggs write down what he remembers seeing? I don't know. And then in this text message where he confesses to a crime he hoped to keep secret till he died of old age, he systematically goes through and does two things. One, he confesses to absolutely every element necessary to be convicted of this crime. And two, he exonerates the roommate. As the defense lawyer, I would suggest that looks to me like someone did that was planned, that wasn't Tyler. Tyler would never hope to keep a secret to old age, pre-confess to the crime on a handwritten note at home, and then systematically go through and confess to absolutely every single element of the crime while simultaneously exonerating the roommate of any liability whatsoever. Looks to me like the roommate set him up. That's what I would suggest. I think that's reasonable doubt. Does that make sense to you as a juror? You are required to follow the facts. What you're not required to do is you sit in that chair right there. What you are not required to do is check your common sense outside this courtroom. When you get sworn in, you are not required to swear an oath that requires you to leave your common sense out there in that hallway. You're allowed to bring it in here with you, and you're allowed to apply it to these facts. Does that make sense to you? Or does it look more to you like he was set up as a patsy and the roommate was involved? And that a guy who hoped to keep a secret till he was old age probably didn't have his phone in his pocket. Someone else probably did. He probably didn't confess by text message to every single thing that he did. Probably someone else did, because that's not what people do when they want to keep a secret to old age. They tend to keep the secret. They don't tend to tell everyone that they see. This, to me, is reasonable doubt the size of the Grand Canyon. I think anyone should be able to look at this and say, yeah, this doesn't look right. This looks made up. I don't believe a 22-year-old starts talking like Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney having a conversation with each other and confesses to absolutely every aspect of it, and then just happens to exonerate the guy who would probably, if there was a setup, be involved in setting him up and have access to his phone, or maybe have access to his account on a computer, or maybe have access to something else. That doesn't make sense to me. It makes more sense to me that this is a scam. That's what makes sense to me, that this is a scam. This is a setup. This is evidence he's a patsy. I didn't intend to take that much time going through. But I think it's important because people are getting lost in the idea. We keep getting hit with this propaganda over and over and over, this mountain of evidence. We could get rid of 90% of the evidence. He would still be convicted. I don't think so. He's not on camera doing it. Something's on camera in the position that they say something happened from. But we don't know that's him. He disappeared from camera for 29 minutes. Could be anybody. Maybe he went in there and was torn up from the Chinese buffet the night before and was sitting in stall 2, cutting loose. Asking who does number 2 work for? That makes more sense to me, that somebody else went out there and did it. And then was it even done from there? Well, where's the bullet? Why did it not go out the back of his neck? I mean, I think you'll have to have experts in there that explain this is highly unlikely. This is reasonable doubt land. It's possible like 1 out of every 1,000 30-06 shots can stay inside the body and doesn't actually blow through the back of the neck and kill the 5 people behind him. It happens, yeah, very rarely. Very rarely is known as reasonable doubt. That's the definition of reasonable doubt. That's what doubt is. It's not expected. It's unusual. It's highly unlikely. The fact that maybe one other person was killed with a 30-06 that didn't go through and through. Maybe you could say Martin Luther King, even though it did actually exit his face and then re-enter his neck. It kind of came in here, exited here, and re-entered here. If you know the thing, it hit one of the hardest bones in his body, the mandible, and then went through his neck and then hit another one of the hardest bones in his body, his shoulder blade. Maybe. But that's the definition of reasonable doubt right there. That's it. What did it hit that fragmented it? Reasonable doubt. The guy confessed to absolutely every element of the crime. Reasonable doubt. I'm sorry, that's reasonable doubt. The guy exonerated his creepy roommate. Reasonable doubt. The guy disappeared from camera for 29 minutes. Reasonable doubt. The video footage of him taking the shot, allegedly taking the shot, is something you can't identify. Reasonable doubt. Like, I don't understand why this is so complicated. I don't understand why people are mad at us for looking at it. It's one thing for them to say, well, I see what you're saying, but I still believe he did it. Fine. We can disagree. A jury will let us know what they think. They'll look at even more evidence and they'll make a more informed decision than we are. But why are you angry with me for coming to this conclusion? That's absolutely ludicrous. Why are you calling me and Candace and others demonic and crazed and a conspiracy theorist because I'm looking at a set of facts that have reasonable doubt written all over them, and I'm concluding there's reasonable doubt. Why is that crazy? Why does that mean you're nuts? That's what I don't understand about this whole thing. And that's why I don't want to debate the issue, because this is all that can be said. Here's what they say. You believe it? I don't. What else do you want to talk about? Well, you have a burden to prove somebody else did it. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, that's not my burden. As a matter of fact, that's not the way logic works. That's not the way legal system works. That's not the way anything works. You're saying it happened that way. That's what the facts are that we're working from, and I don't believe them. I don't have to prove anything. I mean, I can offer reasons I don't believe them. I have some of the reasons I have. I have more reasons I don't believe them. But that's why I don't think Zach should have been debating people. I mean, Didi debated somebody, and he just annihilated her, but I don't even think he should have been debating people. It's not ripe for debate. There is a series of facts. You either believe them or you don't. You're more than welcome to discuss why I don't believe them. I'm happy to have that discussion. I just did. I've been saying it for 6 months why I don't believe them. I'll be happy to say it to somebody, but I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to prove a microphone exploded. I don't have to prove he was electrocuted. I don't have to prove his neck was broken in the back of the SUV. I don't have to prove Frank Turek was in on it. I don't have to prove Erica Kirk was in on it. I don't have to prove she was at Hopkinson. I don't have to prove Andrew was on an earlier flight. Those things might tend to help my case, but they're not required. They're totally not required. So I want to switch gears. There is a gag order in this case. There is a gag order in this case. I'm going to show it to you, because it's important, because people are violating it. Blake Neff in particular, but we'll talk about it. And for the record, let me just say this right off the bat, because I'm gonna bash Blake today. I don't think Blake was in on it. I don't. You ask me right now who was in on it. I don't think Blake was in on it. I'll even lower this so I can say that. Blake, I don't think you had any idea it was coming. I don't think you knew it. I don't think you had anything to do with it. I don't think you're covering it up. I don't think you were in on it. I'm a little concerned by your aggression towards the accused, particularly in light of what we're going to cover here in a month, but I don't think you were in on it. I don't think anyone in on it would have run at Blake Neff speed away from the crime. Hitting that poor girl with a stiff arm. I don't think you were in on it. Nevertheless, I think you're violating the law or the judge's order, so we're going to talk about it. This is the infamous gag order, a protection order regarding pre-trial and trial publicity. This applies to attorneys who are associated with the prosecution and defense. It keeps them from intentionally, knowing, or recklessly permitting a witness, Blake Neff, investigator, consultant, staff member, or other member of the prosecution or defense team to make extrajudicial statements which, if made by the lawyer, would violate Rule 3.6. I would suggest to you, without having to pull Rule 3.6, Rule 3.6 prohibits anyone involved from saying the guy's guilty. In fact, investigators, sheriffs, DAs, whenever they do these press conferences, they're very cautious of saying, hey, we'll tell you what we know, but we cannot say that he's guilty. A jury will determine that. Nevertheless, here are the facts we've got so far. Here's why we've arrested him. But that's not a statement of guilt. Why? Rule 3.6. Can't do it. Not allowed to. Not allowed to. And this judge applied this same rule to witnesses identified by the prosecution and the defense. State moves to amend or clarify the court's use of the word witness as used in the publicity order because it's vague, ambiguous, and overbroad. State asserts there are over 3,000 lay witnesses. This was a concern we raised when this first came out because the judge said this applies to all witnesses. Well, there were 3,000 people there. None of them can talk about the case. State does not know if it must inform each potential and possible witness of the prohibitions of the order. Due to the confusion, the court grants the state's motion, offers the following clarification. This is the rule that we are operating under at present. The word witness, as used in the order, applies to all witnesses who are part of the prosecution and defense teams. Any witness, including lay witnesses, whom the prosecution or defense has a good faith belief will be called to testify at hearing or trial. They have listed some of these. We know who they are. For example, I'll show you one who I believe has violated this. Erica Kirk. Erica Kirk is under this order. As of December 16th, at least, she was notified, but I would say she was under it from the time it was issued. Please forward the attached publicity notice to, I can assure you that says Erica Kirk, because this says up here in the subject, publicity notice to Erica Kirk, which is provided as ordered by the district court. We have identified Ms. That's a short name, K-I-R-K is short, as a potential witness at trial. She almost certainly will appear as a witness at the penalty phase of the trial, i.e. wife, and perhaps the guilt phase to testify generally about TPUSA and Charlie Kirk. That's the wife. That's Erica Kirk. What does this mean? This means Erica Kirk may not make extrajudicial statements, which, if made by the lawyer, would violate Rule 3.6. Rule 3.6 says you cannot say he's guilty. That's what that means. It also applies to Blake Neff. There are other documents in there that says, and for the sake of time, I'm going to speed up because I'm already over an hour and a half and my voice is ruined. There are other things in there that say anybody who was at the scene and has been notified. Blake Neff was at the scene, and I believe he was also notified in there because of the same thing, the same type of indications in this documentation, where it's pretty obvious they're talking about Blake Neff. I would think Blake Neff, Mikey McCoy, and Erica Kirk, Dan Flood, TPUSA employees, all. Now, notice that's not Andrew Colvin. He can say whatever he wants. He wasn't there. It might be unbecoming of him to say those things, considering he works at TPUSA. He works for Ms. Kirk. He is her PR person. People might assume if he says something, she believes it, but I don't know by the letter of the law it would necessarily be a violation. But I want to show you some what I believe are violations, at least in my opinion. Here is one such example. This is Blake Neff talking about Joe Kent. Tyler Robinson literally confessed to his parents and was turned in by them and has DNA all over the weapon used to kill Charlie. But some people are obsessed with hating Israel. The same thing they're obsessed with literally every day. They will try to help a murderer get off so they can keep pursuing their daily obsession. So that's Blake Neff, Twitter post number 1. Here is another of Blake Neff declaring the guilt of Tyler Robinson in what I believe is violation of that order. Here is Blake Neff on a radio show. The news about Joe Kent testifying for Tyler Robinson broke just minutes before today's show. I did not hold back my feelings about it. And I will scroll forward and we can hear now from Blake Neff.
He says, Kent, this is Schellenberger's reporting on Substack. Kent said he knew he might be called as a witness before he made his statements that a, quote, foreign nexus.
Okay, well, that's not what I was looking for. Oh, here it is.
Of murder. Let's refresh people. There is a murder weapon that was found near the site of the shooting. It was owned by Tyler Robinson's family.
Given to him by his grandpa.
Of the caliber used to shoot Charlie. It has his DNA all over it.
All over the casings.
They release a photo of the shooter. They are not able to find him otherwise. Tyler Robinson's parents see that photo and think, that looks like Tyler. They begin asking him things like, where is your, I believe it was his grandfather's gun.
Mm-hmm.
They start asking him this. Tyler Robinson starts talking like he might kill himself. They get a friend of the family to sit down with him. He admits that it's him. They get him to drive up to Orem and turn himself in. His parents helped him turn him in. And we run into people who say that that didn't happen or that's fabricated.
There's digital confessions.
There's digital confessions, but also his parents are out there. They have never stepped forward and said this is a lie.
Well, that's not true. But go ahead.
They could easily do that. It would be trivial to do that if it was the case. They have not done that.
Okay. That's another example of Blake Neff basically saying he's guilty. You would think that's all. No, in fact, it's not. Here's another example of Blake Neff flagrantly disregarding this order. Tyler Robinson confessed to his parents who turned him in. His DNA was found on the trigger of the rifle, found dumped in the woods near the UVU. Tyler has text messages with his boyfriend confessing to the crime. A person resembling Tyler was caught on surveillance video. That actually reads more like it's in favor of the defense, but whatever. I don't think he meant it that way. Lest you are confused whether Tyler Robinson was at the scene and the order applies to him, I would submit to you this. Not only did we see him running at Blake Neff speed away from the crime, we also have him stating as much on the record.
I would say I was about 10 feet to Charlie's left.
10 feet to Charlie's left. I'm not going to play the rest of it just for time, but you understand my point here. We are being accused of tainting the jury pool. They're looking at your humble host. They're looking at Candace. They're looking at Coach. They're looking at Dee Dee. They're looking at other people, podcasters. They're looking at content creators, Ryan Matta, people on X. And they're saying, these guys are tainting the jury pool. I'm not under any order. The prosecution never contacted me and said I'm not allowed to talk about it. Did they contact you, Blake Neff Speed? Now, keep in mind, I don't think you were in on it. I think, in my opinion, there were people you work with that were aware it was going to happen, maybe even help coordinate it. But I don't think it was Blake. Maybe, but just as I'm sitting here today, I don't think it was him. But if you're going to accuse us of attempting to taint the jury pool while you're out here flagrantly, in my opinion, disregarding the judge's order, commenting on his guilt or innocence, which you're not supposed to be doing, in my opinion, you're not supposed to be doing. Why are you doing that? Why are you pointing the finger at us? You know what I think it is? I'm of the opinion, after talking to several people behind the scenes, I'm of the opinion the prosecution's case is falling apart. It's not as strong as they were led to believe when they inherited it. I don't think the police think it's a very strong case. The FBI has walked away after prepping some of the evidence. They get the bullet fragment back, no definitive match. They realize some of the people that allegedly made statements that made their way into the probable cause statements don't believe are going to say they didn't say that. And what you're left with is a video that is very unconvincing that it's Tyler Robinson. It's unconvincing it's anybody. It could be Michael Jordan up there. I mean, it looks nothing like, it could be a 6'6" black guy. It could be, a 5'2" white girl. It could be anything in between. We have no way of knowing who that is. The linchpin was the parents' testimony, and I'm telling you right now, that's falling apart. The linchpin was the gun, and I'm telling you right now, that's falling apart, and they're panicked. They're panicked. And when the case falls apart, if Tyler Robinson walks or is convicted of a lesser included offense, or they file some sort of superseding indictment, have another preliminary hearing, tag him with, assisting with a murder rather than committing a murder, takes a plea deal to something. If it falls apart or when it falls apart, these guys want to be able to point a finger at your humble host, at Candace Owens, Coach Colin, and others. They want to point a finger at us and say, we're the reason it happened. We are the shame of the Charlie Kirk investigation. We tainted the jury pool. We tainted witnesses. This thing was open. It was shut. There was a mountain of evidence. It was a Mount Everest of evidence. It wasn't just any old mountain. It was Mount Everest. It was the tallest mountain in the land of evidence. The case was so cut and dry. It was so strong. And they're left with a case that's crumbling, absolutely crumbling. And if the case crumbles in a way where everybody looks at it and says, that didn't just crumble, that just collapsed. They had the wrong guy. There's still somebody on the loose who did this. We've got to find that person. Well, then anyone involved remains in jeopardy. But if the case crumbles or he takes some lesser included plea and they can point a finger at us and try to discredit us and run us out of the conservative movement, run us out of pop culture, run us off of YouTube, run us out, try to discredit everybody. Look what they've done. They've let a murderer go scot-free. It's their fault. Then the investigation essentially remains over because people blame us. They don't blame whoever it is that actually did it. They get to maintain this legal fiction that the mountain of evidence concludes that Tyler Robinson did it, but it was our fault he didn't get convicted. That's what I think they're setting up. I think they're aware the case is collapsing quickly. And I think that puts Tyler in a great deal of jeopardy. I hope the sheriff of Utah County is a very strong individual and has Tyler very protected. Very protected. Because I worry about stuff like this. I worry about stuff like this. I had one more thing, but I may push it to tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to push it to tomorrow. We're so late. My voice is so cooked. I plan to be back tomorrow if I can speak. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. I haven't checked the likes in a while, but I did mention something about it earlier. If you've not liked the video, please, by all means, do. Less than half of you watching have. Now's no time to act like that, ladies and gentlemen. Now's the time to get in there. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join 253,000 plus other people. They can't all be wrong. Yeah. If you want to see that, you can go find that document. If not, I may pull it up again tomorrow and show you if you still have some questions about it. I did sort of tell you things that were in it without showing it. I don't typically do that. I typically throw documents up. I'm the type of show that I don't just say stuff. I put the documents up on the screen. But for the sake of time, I didn't want to pull it up and show you where it gave the notice to Erica Kirk. I didn't want to pull it up and show you where it applied to witnesses who were present and listed as witnesses. Just trust me, it's in there. If not, we'll look at it again. If you doubt me, but don't doubt me. Have some faith. Have some faith. I appreciate you guys sticking with me while I can barely speak. I'm not as much fun when I'm under the weather. Baron. Love you. Sad to miss the beginning because my Wednesday night church service starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. I can hardly wait to hear your open about the debunked test they're wanting to use. Oh, my opinion about the debunked test. Christ is King. God bless you. I thought about covering that, but Candace did such a good job with it. So there's not much else to cover on it. I mean, it's the test is garbage. It's absolute garbage. It'd be like going back and putting leeches on somebody's body because they have a fever. It just wouldn't make any sense. We've moved on from that lousy science. And the fact that they want to reintroduce it means their case is falling apart. I'm new to faith. I want to look into Catholicism. I drive a truck, hate to read, and can't find Rome Sweet Home to listen to. Any other suggestions? I admire and appreciate you. Yeah. Find some Scott Hahn YouTube and just listen to Scott Hahn. He's so great. He's such a good speaker. Doesn't matter what you listen to. Just listen to it. Just find Scott Hahn. You can find him on a show called The Journey Home. That's a great introduction. It's on YouTube. Baron, I'm obsessed with you. Cannot believe you were living a normal life 7 months ago. I still live a pretty normal life. When you were born to be a podcaster. Question, how has your approach to podcasting changed the past few months with new success? That's a good question. I do a lot more research. I have 2 other people helping me now where I used to do it all alone. So that's different. That's new. And it's some growing pains. in that, you just got to learn to work together and figure it all out. But I mean, I'm a big fan that people rise to the occasion and we get there. And I think Daisy and my sister have both risen to the occasion. We're getting better working together every day. It's becoming a smoother operation. But I still live a very normal life. I mean, I've nothing literally except for the fact that I sit at this desk now for 75 hours a week where I used to sit here for 40 or 50. Almost nothing else has changed. Still go to the church. I don't go to the gym quite as much because I'm here more often. I mean, everything's pretty much the same. But thank you. I'm not able to run as many errands. I'll say that. I used to be able to run more errands, and I miss that. I'm well aware of the company you speak of, Built. Oh, you talking about Zechariah Qureshi's company. Duly noted. But I think that's BILT. We, Receipts Department, have a Daisy too. She's scary good. Our Daisy and your Daisy need to meet because together no one will be safe. Duly noted. Find her on the Discord. Oh, I was supposed to. Here, let me do this real fast. I was supposed to put the Discord link up and pin it at the beginning of the show, and I didn't. If you want to get on the Discord, get in there. You can track her down in there. Baron, check your P.O. box between tomorrow and April 10th. What's today? April 1. That's 10 days. I'll check it probably twice in that time. A little something for your office is on the way. Hit Nashville Distribution Center today. You'll know it's for me by the first letter of the alphabet. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. Duly noted. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe the doctor wasn't allowed to clean Charlie because it wasn't Charlie. No, it was Charlie. Can we stop saying Charlie's alive or they switched his body out or he's not dead? Can we just stop that? I like Jesse as much as anybody. He's become a friend. We talk on the phone. We text. He's a great guy. But I believe Charlie's dead. I believe they killed him. Just a matter of who, how, and why. When I was a baby, I was born without the top of my skull. And part of my brain showed. It was gross. So my mom put a wig on me to cover it and the bones grew together. And then it got infused and intertwined. And that's why my hair is like this. Are you a dog? Is that what you're talking about? I'm very confused. Group of stingrays is called a fever. The term fever does not refer to temperature, but to the frenetic activity of a large group of stingrays during mating and or when competing for. Okay, duly noted. Thank you. When my son was in preschool, he once introduced himself. Hi, my name's David, but my friends call me Stop David. I wish I could tell you my story, but I would have to give my kid's name away. We have a nickname for him. It's his first name, and then it adds a couple of syllables to the end of it. And he thought that was his last name. And when he was young, he told someone that was his name. They said, "What's your name?" And he told them. They said, "What's your last name?" And then he gave the full nickname. And I thought that was funny. Couldn't watch the liftoff earlier this evening without thinking so much of it was fake. Not all, but a bunch after no one from Earth could see the rocket any longer. I truly believe they launched a rocket into low Earth orbit where it will remain for the next week or two and then come down. I'm pretty confident of that. At what point do they have to let TR out of jail? They don't. I mean, it's very well that he may never get out of prison again. He may go straight from jail to trial to prison. He may never walk free again. Depends on what he's convicted of. You have to understand, my goal is not to get him acquitted. My goal is justice, to see the right person charged with the right crime. If he was part of a conspiracy to have a man taken from this life, then he deserves to be punished. And he deserves to be guilty. But he doesn't deserve to be guilty of pulling a trigger he didn't pull. And as of right now, there's to me too much reasonable doubt that he pulled the trigger. The trial, the additional evidence will let us know if that's indeed correct, one. And two, if it's not correct, did he have some other role? Because if he had some other role, he needs to be punished. Charlie's dead. A beaver can hold his... Thank you. Baron, what kind of shoes do frogs? What the hell's going on here? Salem, Baron, yesterday, Candace said they kept asking her if she recorded the video call. She had not. Okay, I actually like this joke. Open to Salem. Salem, Baron, yesterday, Candace said they kept asking her if she recorded the video call. Oh, Salam. Sorry, I thought you said Salem. She had not recorded that call. What the hell were they planning to do because of Charlie's head in order to prove the bullet? That's a good question. I mean, I think I think it was whether or not they were just going to say there was a through and through and that they couldn't find the bullet. So here's something I wanted to get into tonight and have time. And I'll get into it tomorrow in more detail. But I think the panic on that date was they had to make the autopsy report match. I think the autopsy report's probably crooked, in my opinion. And they had to make it match what would eventually be known publicly. And it was due. It had to be done at a certain time. So the photos, the narrative, the drawings, everything had to be done by a certain date. They couldn't just hold that indefinitely. I kind of wish Candace hadn't told them. I kind of wish she'd have said, "Would you just wait and see?" I think that's happened since. I think a lot of people would make a lot of mistakes if they come out publicly and deny things they've said to certain people. We'll see if they ever do. I mean, it may come back to bite them if they do. But I think there was a panic, and it was like, hey, this is due. You have to find out what she saw. Love the hoodie color. Thank you. No. Thank you. Thank you for that generosity too. Ryan, what do you call? I can't do jokes, guys. My voice is hurting. I'm sorry. I can't do jokes. Fleets, hold please video brought tears to my eyes. The culmination of hard work you've put into the case. It gives me all the feels for what it's worth. A chicken once lived for 18 months without a head, and you cannot hum while holding your nose. What is happening? What is happening? I feel like I'm in a dream. I feel pinches. Someone pinching me in my dream. I can hum while holding my nose. Not very well. You know, humming's supposed to be very good for you. Builds nitric oxide in your sinus cavity. Helps clear your sinuses, open your vessels, lower your blood pressure. People should hum more. That's your health tip for the day. When I'm bored, what in the hell is happening in here? I wonder, I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't understand it. I wonder if the Romney Hendersons are the same as the McCain Hendersons, who are basically a mafia in Arizona. I don't know. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Let's see here. Feeling like a teenage boy every time you say master debater. Have I said that yet? Oh my gosh. I appreciate all the donations, guys. I really do. But I do not have the voice to read humor tonight. Connor Henderson, Candor showed, look a lot like Tyler Robinson, guy upstairs. Are you new? Because I showed that picture weeks ago. I mean, weeks ago. We had a whole show on the guy looking like Tyler Robinson or the guy on the stairs. I mean, a whole show. But thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought Candace did a great treatment of that and built on what we did on our show. Actually, I wish I'd have found the information she found about the Romneys and all that. She had a great show. For your voice, coughing, try ACT dry mouth lozenges. I have these. I took one right before the show. It won't cure your cough at all, but may soothe it enough to help during the show and preserve your voice. Well, thank you. Let's see here. God is good all the time. Okay. The alternative school I work for at just hired a new sped teacher. He's super nice, but I noticed he has a Freemason poster on his classroom wall. I asked him about it, and he said he's a 33rd degree York Freemason. Admin doesn't seem concerned. Please pray for our students. Well, I would suggest a 33rd York Freemason does not exist, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. The 32nd degree is a Scottish Rite Mason. 33rd degree is a Scottish Rite deal. The York Rite, I think, only has 12 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. But those are not necessary. So there's Masonry, that's 3 degrees. I don't remember what they're called. Apprentice, something, and Master. And then from there, you go up the Scottish Rite, you go up the York Rite, or you go up the Shriners. You could do both, tooth, all 3, 1, doesn't matter. But it's like extra credit. But thank you for that very generous donation. And I will pray for your students. Where can I find the actual court filings, motion papers, opinions, etc. regarding the TR case? I like reading court docs. So a couple of places. There's something called the Utah Exchange. It's the letter X and the word change, Exchange. You can order them there. You have to pay for them. And then there's a woman named Andrea Burkhart. She has a Substack, andreaburkhart.substack.com. I would suggest if you read them on her site, you throw her a bone. You can subscribe, I think, monthly, 10 or 15 bucks a month. You know, at least subscribe for 1 month or give her a year's worth of subscription. I think it's $150 a year. Because these court documents are expensive. I've bought a lot of them and they cost a lot of money. They're like 10 bucks each. So, and she has hundreds. So you can go to andreaburkhart.substack.com or you can go to the Utah Exchange. Either way. Baron, you're the best. As a stay-at-home mom, I just pop in my AirPods and listen to you while I get through my days and evenings. It helps so much. Well, thank you. I do that to a lot of people. I do that to well, I don't want to say all the podcasters I listen to. Oh, I get it. Okay, it's Discord. Discord did the jokes for April Fools. Okay, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was so confused by all the jokes. I apologize for getting on to you. I'm just struggling to speak. I've been quiet all day trying to not say too much so that I could do a show tonight. But yeah, like for example, I was listening to Tucker and Dave Smith today in my ears while I worked. So yeah, it does help the day pass listening to stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's no exit wound, shouldn't there be more than one fragment? In theory, you would think there'd be a whole bunch of them. CIA criminals in action. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Baron, big fan of the show. Thanks for all you do. Get yourself Beekeeper's Naturals throat spray. It's great. Go Max. Again, I have this, and this helps. This helps. And it's got propolis in it. I apologize. I'm not skipping. I am reading the jokes as they go by, like this one. Do I know bunnies don't actually lay? Yes, I did. I see the jokes, but I don't have the voice to go through them all. So I apologize. Kerkhoff's father and sister works for Les Wexner, and father developed Abercrombie e-commerce site during the period Epstein had control of assets and was in and out of corporate. Are you serious? Is that true? That's crazy. I mean, that's bananas. Favorite part of the week is your show. Nashville trip for me next week. Baron, Daisy, share your off-the-grid recommendations. Daisy doesn't live anywhere near here. No Broadway, no Woo Girls, no tourist traps. Give me the real Tennessee. I'm bad at that stuff, guys. I'm bad at that stuff. Like, I'm a bad tourist. Part of it's I've been here too long. I don't know. I wish I was better at this. I highly recommend looking up Nashville travel websites and finding out. Because I'm terrible at it. One cool thing is you can hike the original Natchez Trail. There's a place in Leaper's Fork where you can park your car and hit the trailhead. My wife and I did that last fall. It was beautiful. I can't imagine what it looks like right now in the early spring. So that'd be cool to do. But I don't I don't know what else to recommend. But have fun. You know, Daisy lives in Texas. It's a good ways away. I've come to think of your monologues right before supers as your closing statements. They're amazing. It'll be a great addition to your Clips channel. Well, thank you. Oh, if you've not subscribed to the Clips channel, I have been clipping the openings and putting them over there. I will be adding more clips over time, but I've not yet done that. But this will get you the openings at least for the meantime. Head over there to Baron Coleman Clips, youtube.com/@Baron Coleman Clips. Let's see here. Don't hate me. I sent you and Candace an email about a super sketchy place in Texas called the Patriot Academy. Labeled nonprofit in Texas, connects to TPUSA Faith and so much more. It's not far from New Braunfels. I know I'm ashamed for the email. You shouldn't be ashamed. It means it may not get read. Patriot Academy. What do you mean it connects to TPUSA Faith? That's what I'm not. Yeah, thank you. Help me understand the Unblank America group that Hunter K supposedly was associated with. Lately, lots on X attempting to show them as opponents of TPUSA crew. I think a PSYOP and in cahoots with TPUSA. I don't think they're in cahoots with TPUSA. I think, well, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't think so. I think TPUSA views them as friendly opponents, though. It helps their cause. So maybe, I don't know. Follow Jesus, not tradition. Today is a good Wednesday. We can count on this high IQ outfit. It is Good Wednesday. Good Wednesday. Not just any good Wednesday. Good Wednesday. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm having trouble here. Save your voice. You're the best. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. The women told you to stop yelling at Tilly, and look, they jinxed you. Now your voice is going out. Shame on all you ladies. Yes, I know. I blame them. Any thoughts on the deep dive update on Vatican translator Mario Biglino, oldest mistranslations of Kavod, Ruach, Elohim, El Shaddai, Yahweh, and El Elyon? I've never heard of it. That's something I should know. I lived and worked in Richland Hills, Texas for many years. The company called Built was erected overnight. I can't tell if that's a joke or you're being serious. Maybe crazy question, but why would Tyler Robinson put himself in this position? Could be any number of reasons. Could be, and I've talked about how patsies are developed, and I talked a little bit about it in the opening. Perhaps he was in on it in some capacity, and they just decided to pin the whole thing on him without his knowledge. Option A. There's an option where he was caught doing, illegal things, perhaps with young people. I think a lot of patsies are developed that way, and then they come and say, all right, you can do a favor for us, and we'll look the other way. But if you ever speak about it, we'll hit you with that. I think that could be a problem. I think that might have happened with George Zen. When George Zen told somebody in the hospital he was paid to stand up and take credit, and then all of a sudden they hit him with the CP charge. So you never know. This is one of those jokes. Having Daisy on during supers reduces the frequency of the comment. I don't know what that means. Christ is king. Oh, it has the whatever that blue dot is. Those tend to be the funny ones. Baron, dear sir, relevance has been overlooked on the ATF report. The report fails to confirm fragments were even from a bullet. They cannot claim it's a bullet, much less a 30-06 from Grandpa's gun. How do we know the report fails to confirm it was even from a bullet? Because they do call it a jacket bullet. Thank you, Mitch. I appreciate that. Hot tea with lemon and honey. Yeah, thank you. I need it. Thank you for sacrificing your voice for voice Charlie Kirk no longer has. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Good call. Why would AK leak the text to Joe Kent if he were involved in the plot to steer toward Israel, or he could have been left in the dark till after the assassination? That was my guess, is to take pressure off of TPUSA and put it onto a foreign adversary that they knew they would never pursue, and that they would be even more motivated to pin it on Tyler Robinson. As a criminal defense attorney in any hybrid Fed state evidence case, Fed evidence is virtually impossible to obtain in a meaningfully expedient way. I have real concerns about what TR's team will actually obtain. That's a really good point, Lindsay. Thank you for sharing that. Is there a way to be notified when a new pleading is filed in a specific case, like a centralized website or app? I haven't found a way to have it notify me, but I just jump on there and look once every week or so. What if they intentionally framed TR because they knew it would be proven wrong to let the real person reason go unknown? TR being quiet and money getting money? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm reading these jokes, by the way. I'm not skipping them. They are funny, but I am very limited with how many words I want to say tonight. Baron, great opening statement. Another prime example of government prosecutorial misconduct, railroading, and legal shenanigans was the Flynn case. That was a disgrace. There seems to be a pattern. Smash the like button. Yeah, hit the like button. I agree. When I saw that pleading today in the Brian Cole case, I thought, man, what a prime opportunity to discuss sort of a multi-step development of Patsy's in a way that sort of absolves the state and local officials. You know, if they're only given evidence that points in one direction and all the other evidence is hidden under state secrets, think of Joe Kent. Joe Kent wasn't allowed to pursue certain leads. So if they're only given evidence that leads in one particular direction, maybe the state and local officials are looking around going, why is the case falling apart? Why? We were told this was a mountain of evidence. It was bulletproof. That's why I covered it. Robert Lickfield founded WWASP. Oh gosh, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. A whole bunch of facts. It ends here. Lickfield, a major Romney donor, linked the legal transport industry to systemic child abuse. Hey, let me say something about this. I still check in on Alabama political news. There's a pretty tight Senate race going on down there. And a guy that I know and have known for a long time named Barry Moore is running for Senate. He's a congressman right now. We used to be mortal enemies, and then we kind of became friends. Long story. Serious business, folks. But yeah, it was a long story. We used to hate each other, and then we sort of started liking each other and became sort of friendly after a while. But he's been in Congress a few terms. He's running for Senate. I assumed he would be the favorite to win. Donald Trump endorsed him. I thought that would be the end of it, and he would just cruise to victory. He's locked in a three-way battle. The other guy he's fighting is the Attorney General named Steve Marshall. I think he's horrifically corrupt and would be devastated if he won. And then there's this third guy who came out of nowhere. His name's Jared Hudson. And I started looking into Hudson when he a couple of months ago, he was just in like small percentage, and then slowly he's just climbed his way into it to where it's now kind of a three-way dead heat with the three of them. So today was the very first day I ever actually looked at who is this guy. I never viewed him as a threat, so I didn't waste any time researching him. Today I did. You'll never guess what he does for a living. Works in the child transportation business. Runs a nonprofit that deals with transportation. Knows Yako, Boyens, knows Tim Ballard, knows all the players. Follows them on social media and all that. Just as shady, in my opinion, just as shady as all of them. Navy SEAL, former Navy guy. I wouldn't vote for that guy to save my life if I'm in Alabama. Would not pull the trigger for that guy for anything. Now, that said, you're kind of in a three-way bind down there in Alabama because all three of them appear to be bought and paid for by our greatest ally. So I'm not sure what options you have down there, but it's tough sledding, man. These people are coming out of the woodwork lately. I'm of the firm belief the Einstein network did not disappear, that it was funneled into these nonprofits when it broke down, when he got convicted, when he got whatever happened to him, turned into West Palm Pete or whatever. Counselor, as you read this, I just sent you an email, subline Donna and Harvey. Short and to the point. It would kind of be funny. Please read. I would be very grateful. Okay, thank you. I will look into that. Thank you. I'll bet everything I own, Tyler Robinson's never even shot a firearm. Once in his entire life, he's the kind of kid Grandpa takes fishing, reels in the fish, and says, ooh, gross, and runs off like a 5-year-old. I assume he shot a rifle. He's from rural Utah, but maybe not many. Maybe not many. Can you explain the two videos thing? Blake's video, not the drama, just your opinion. What are you talking about? What two videos? I can't explain it because I don't know what you're talking about. I would love to. Order my merch. Going to wear my high IQ outfit around the house in humility. Tuning in always. Let all of our viewers pray constantly that this all comes to light. Christ is forever King. Yeah, I think for right now, we have the merch site up and running. It's realbaronpodcast.com. Just scroll to the bottom. You'll find the merch. I think it's running smoothly for now. There was a period of time where a lot of orders were being captured behind the scenes, and we had to go through and individually approve them, and that caused some delays. So people who ordered on a particular day, March 20th, a lot of those got captured, and we had to go back and manually approve them, and that caused some delays. But I think we've solved that, and we've solved, I think, the banking problem. And so hopefully we're smooth sailing from here on out, but I don't know. We'll find out. If we're smooth sailing, then we'll add some new items down the road. But we got to make sure we're smooth sailing. Baron watching from Ireland, keeping me up late with work tomorrow. Love your show. Never miss. On CO show tonight, she mentioned Connor, who looks like the guy on the steps. Yeah, you obviously missed some. You say you never miss. You've at least missed one show, young lady in Ireland, because we covered that. I'm not knocking you. It's fine. You're allowed to miss. You're allowed to miss. Hi, Baron. If Tyler changed clothes, wouldn't he necessarily change shoes? Do the shoe stock stay on the same? He just loves you. It's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know. Or ask TR to go up to the roof because of the crowd. I don't know what that means. Itch, it's been a long day, so I apologize if this is low IQ, but why do the feds keep nudging in after all they've passed this to the state? In or out? I don't trust them. After today, I need heads to roll. Are they nudging in? Are they nudging in? I don't recall seeing that recently. Hot water, honey, and fresh lemon juice. Yeah. I'm working on it. Whole thing's completely asinine. I don't understand how anyone with common sense cannot see what this is. A complete and total cover-up. Starting to look like one. Wouldn't some data show where each phone was when the TRLT confess text happened? Yeah. But what if one person was in St. George and another person was in Utah with his phone? Because he was scouting. I don't know. I'm just driving the reasonable doubt train here. OMG. Thank you so much for the attention to my autistic little pony fan. My son is nonverbal autistic. This case bugs my soul. Impossible to ignore. My girl instantly said that's a girl adjudicating her bra. What are we talking about? I am so confused. Can I just humbly ask, has anyone seen the kids? I haven't heard anything about them. Did Charlie's parents take them? Never pics of EK with them since the walk pics. I don't know anyone who's laid eyes on the kids who's not at TPUSA. Apparently she was in DC today. I don't trust the chain of custody on anything in this case, including Charlie's body. Same. I definitely don't trust it on Charlie's body. Knew Qureshi was part of the story. I know you say you saw part 3, but please look at Qureshi part 1 and 2 from Moon Post. My heart. Did I see part 1 and 2? My heart sunk like Ralphie's face in A Christmas Story when he decoded "Drink Your Ovaltine." I don't know what we're talking. Maybe my brain is gone with my voice. I'm not understanding most of these. If Tyler's phone was used to trace areas he wasn't, we can use to check if phone pinged at the DQ. I can't. I mean, the police can, sure. Baron, please consider women's V-neck tee merch. Yeah, we are, for the plump and overheating population. Thanks, buddy. All right. Golly. I feel like Christy Gnome's husband was writing that text. I saw those pictures, Mr. Gnome. I saw them. Yeah, we talked about the V-neck for the next round. Gun residue would be on the towel he wrapped it in. Mr. Coleman, we need to have a discussion about my 6-year-old telling his dog he's famous like Tilly. And I refuse to have that dispute with a 6-year-old, so he and the dog to you for a week of boot camp. No, I'm not taking anyone's kids or dog. I'm sorry. Crazy friend with the microwave is right. We're being tracked and databased already. Let's not forget about the beeper fiasco with Israel. Maybe that's what he was afraid of. That's why he wanted us to put his... Yeah, he had a microwave in his office. You had to put your stuff in a microwave when you went in there. And then he would turn on noises because he said it distracted recorders in the office. Like, who are you, brother? Now, to be fair, this guy was not very famous at the time. Now he's a super well-known guy. I don't want to out him, but he's a super well-known guy now. And so maybe he was onto something. Maybe he was onto something. I'll listen to the rest tomorrow. Great opening. Thank you, Soy. P.S. I think you listened to Raw Thoughts 7. Never heard of it. On one show's Q&A, you said a lot of the lines of the song. I just listened to you both. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I've never heard of Raw Song 7. Now we know the bullet doesn't match if you consider the palm gun theory. Oh my gosh, I'm about to panic. I'm a bit worried the feds will fabricate, give bad evidence. I'm very worried that there will be fabricated evidence, that there's not already fabricated evidence, which is why I think they were panicking, not knowing whether Candace had shown the video or recorded the video. It's interesting they wanted to know that she recorded the video. As if she went on and said she saw it, people would just say, well, she's a liar. Like that, it's obvious that they don't really mean it when they call her a liar. Gosh, I wish you hadn't told. I wish you'd have told him no. Let him come out and then drop the camera. Tells you all you need to know about why they took the SD card. Wait, did I read that? No, who else's phone was misplaced missing? Brian Harpole noticed his phone was gone at the hospital. Probably not related. The same, just odd. Yeah, and also Andrew Colvit's phone. Remember, it broke. Any evidence the car that pinged was TR's car? I mean, it looks like it. That's at least some evidence. Can defense request info of all DNA profiles on the firearm? Sure. The FBI agents are on it. That is tampering, or does that impact the evidence? I mean, they could just say they moved it or they touched it. I don't know. Baron. I keep seeing people say on X, including Grifter Gary, there was never any bomb dogs that came from CO. Have you seen any authoritative info on this? Yeah, I have police recordings talking about them. So that doesn't surprise me that they've got that wrong. But yeah, there's police department. There's police recordings. We played them, I think. Daisy, I don't remember if we played that or not. But I know we have it in our file. There's a recording of them saying they've dispatched every K9 in the county or every K9 around to the area. See, that goes back to they'll just say she's lying. Same reason they want to know if she recorded the through and through. Maybe Bongino is still with the FBI. His task, convince listeners to accept the government narrative. He's home with the missus, which is why he left the FBI allegedly. He sure seems angry for a guy that's back home. Something stinks. A video came out today of him yelling at some news reporter in 2016. He is unhinged. Allegedly, in my opinion. Unhinged. If Charlie's shirt would have been preserved as evidence, it would have proved or disproved or exploding mic theory. Maybe that's why they cut it off. In TR text, they said they grabbed Zen. Then he said they interrogated someone in similar clothing. How would he know that? Can't be Qureshi. He was picked up hours later, possibly a suspect before Qureshi. Wasn't there a guy that was interrogated in like a Honda Civic or something downtown? And wasn't there an Andrew that got picked up? Who was that? I'm stressing my memory here. There was some guy named Andrew that was detained, and they said don't interrogate him or don't ask him any questions till we get there. That was the FBI. Good call on that, though. I thought this text exchange with Brian Harpole. No, Brian Harpole released it and led people to believe it was him. It was Dan Flood. I have watched footage of the UVU event leading up to the shot, including the first questioner on Mormonism, and Dan does that same arm move a couple of times. No, he doesn't. Give me the timestamps and the link to the video. He doesn't. I've looked at it 1,000 times. I've watched that same video. I've watched that same 11-minute video 1,000 times. And each time I watched it, I watched a different person. And I watched Dan Flood like 9 times. He does not do that same arm move. That's fake news. So students contacted the security guy, Dan, to tell him there is a walkway above Charlie. Who are these students who have access to him and are so concerned about it calling to give the heads up? That's a good question. Who are these students? Have they been identified? It's a great question. I hadn't considered it. I did consider that it doesn't sound like something students would do. I mean, you think students are sitting around saying, they could drop rocks on Charlie's head. They ought to walk off the walkway. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a great point. Who are these students? APB for the students. If anyone knows the students, email me. Actually, don't. Find some other way to get in touch with me. Longtime viewer, first comment, fellow redheaded from rural Ireland. 19 years sober on May 15th. Keep doing you, Sir Baron. Crisis King. Crisis King, indeed. I didn't know there were sober people in Ireland, so this is breaking news. I had no idea there were sober people in Ireland. I thought when you were born, they just poured a beer on your head. And you smelled like beer the rest of your life. Guinness. That's what I was told. Recent Delphi case is a horrific example of how far the state can will go to elicit a false confession once they have a suspect in custody. Duly noted. Duly noted. Everyone wants an encore song. If given the choice of genre for your next single, what would it be? I want it to sound like MGK. That's what I want. I want his dance moves. I worked out to all MGK songs today. I like that guy. I didn't even know him a month or two ago. My daughter went to a concert of his and came back and she was like, it was great. And I was like, I've listened to his stuff. So I started playing stuff and I actually kind of liked it. And I was like, all right, let me see if I can work out to it. And I did. We had 30-inch box jump overs today and hang power cleans. It tore my hands up. It was 5 at a time, and it was basically you had to do one broken. I mean, there's no reason to drop it, and it just tore my hands up. I don't know why. They were heavy. Felt heavy for me. Yeah, that's what I would do. I would do in the style of MGK. I've come to like that guy. It might make me old. It might make me dumb or whatever, but that's what's in my head right now. The white car that followed Robinson out of the. Let me say this real quick. Fleet, you're the best. You're the best. My stepbrother sends me your songs when he finds them online. He sends them to me. It's great. It's great. I had got a text from him for like 2 years. Then I get a random text. It's an ad Fleet. I'm like, awesome. Awesome. You're bringing people together, Fleet. You didn't even know it. The white car that followed Robinson out of the parking lot is a Toyota RAV4. It is not. It is a Lexus something. 350 or something 350. We ran that down already. Check out Gary and Nate on Alex Jones today. Gary has done a 180. Who are Gary and Nate? Gary has done a 180. Since when? Oh, you talking about Gary? Gary? He must have realized the itinerary doesn't hold up to scrutiny if he's done a recent one. I don't know when you're talking about from. When he goes out of view, is there a door or exit in that area? I don't know. I've never been on the campus. I am going to be on the campus before long, but I've not been on the campus. You would also assume gunshot residue where the impressions on the roof were noted, yet nothing yet about this. Maybe because there was no shot from that position. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. That's a great point. You would think there would be gunshot residue all over those rocks in the immediate aftermath, at least before it rained and all that. Didn't rain that day. They should have been up there. What do they use? Luminol? What do they use for that? I'm starting to feel bad about skipping the jokes earlier. They made me laugh inside. I'm over them needing you to debate. Innocent until proven guilty. End of debate. Better debate. AK flew to Scottsdale. Prove me wrong. Go Max. I mean, I tend to believe he flew to Scottsdale, but only because he produced an itinerary that looks fake. And because it makes more sense that he was on that flight, because why else did a flight go to Scottsdale and then to Phoenix, or to Santa Barbara and then to Scottsdale? That doesn't make sense to me unless he flew on it. Yes. You said you don't really believe he was supposed to be taken alive. Thoughts on when, where should that occur if he turned himself in? I don't think he was supposed to turn himself in. I think he was supposed to go out in a hail of gunfire, charging the cops, suicide. He barricaded himself in a room and shot himself. Took a hostage. I mean, who knows? All the body cams malfunctioned. Weird, huh? Same guy must have been running them that ran the Epstein file. I don't understand how they could have DNA results so fast. When I checked, the fastest was around 9 days. Average time was 20 days. Instant test unreliable. Do we know the timeline on that? I don't know. If they can't tie Fragment to the gun, doesn't that render info about the gun, DNA, etc., irrelevant? Is it just a gun found nearby? It ceases to be a murder weapon. It makes their case harder to prove that it's the murder weapon. Certainly. This is totally underwhelming. I'm not whelmed. Congrats on 250. It's 2 a.m.ish. Thank you for the warm welcome in the chat. You're welcome, Friendly Fire. I don't know where you are. That it's 2 a.m. What time was that? 8 o'clock? You'd be 6 hours ahead. That sounds Europe-y. That sounds Europe-y to me. Oh, yeah, those are E-Bucks. That's very Europe. Very Europe. So a 30-06 round is approximately 0.95 ounces. No exit room. Where's the rest of the bullet? Good question. Black pick on wall as a statement has a story. It's powerful. A fall from grace symbol. Bless you, Baron, and all the high IQers this Easter. Bless you as well. Yeah, I like the black. The fact that it draws so much attention proves the point that it needs to stay black. Catch Trump's breaking news later. He's on now. I don't care what he has to say. Also, if Twiggs was involved and was the only one they keep saying could have left the rifle in the woods, Twiggs in the woods, probably nothing. Nothing is surprising. Yeah, I guess. There's nothing on the news about anything Trump's saying. Let me look at Google News. Oh, he says he's nearing completion on Iran. Great. So we lost. Great. That'll deter China and Russia. That'll teach them. Yeah. I just saw another podcast where CIA can listen to you through your cell phone even if it's turned off. Yeah, we've known that. That's why they don't let you take the batteries out anymore. Because that was a way around that. You just take the battery out and then they couldn't listen. So they made it so you can't take the battery out. Same with the SIM card. Notice they're all electronic SIM cards now. Most of them. Can't take the SIM card out. So now it's a fact that at least one type of weapon, a gun, the bullet frag, was definitely used to liquidate CK. Are we sure it's a bullet? No, that doesn't mean that at all. You forget that during the ride to the hospital, they were packing the wound. They could have put anything in it. In the hospital, we lost complete control of the body as he was turned over to people who had been searched by our greatest ally in the weeks leading up to the Big Bang. They could have shoved anything in there. We've got a medical examiner with an extremely, in my opinion, shady past. I have no doubt that she could have grabbed a bullet fragment or someone could have given it to her and she said, look what I pulled out of the body. I mean, I've got real trust issues on this case. Salem Media's registered with FARA 8 days after the Big Bang. Brad Parscale at Salem also was over Laura Trump and Dinesh's shows. Shield. I don't think Salem filed. I think Clock Tower filed and disclosed that they were spending some of their money on Salem, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the proper trail. I want to be accurate. The bullet can't be, maybe they did, but I don't think they filed. If a bullet can't be matched, too little material, other reasons, the conclusion is simple. There's no match, no comparison, no evidence. Gary doesn't get it. I'm done talking about him. CK last morning article was written by House Inhabit. Actually, I'm not. I'll do it at the end of the show. I have to apologize to Gary, and I'm going to at the end of the show. He's earned that, and I'm going to be honest. I'll do it. I'll do it now. CK last morning article was written by House Inhabit. Do you think this is TPUSA trying to control the narrative? Enjoy your coffee tomorrow. Was it really? Yeah. I know what you're talking about. All right, let me do this real quick. Let me get a timestamp. 2:28. Gary, I apologize. I said that you doubted whether Mitch was ever at Fort Huachuca. The reason I said that was because you were on that camera doubting whether the police report was real. And I thought the only reason a man would doubt whether the police report was real is if they doubted whether he was there. Because otherwise, why would he fake a police report if he was there? Why would he need to do that? But apparently you had said you didn't doubt he was there. Fair enough. I don't watch you, so I didn't know. Apparently you watch everything I do, and that's great. Welcome to the program. It shows there's at least a high IQ man trying to crawl out of your body. You should let him out and play. You should listen to that high IQ man. Let him sit on your shoulder, talk, whisper in your ear. You'll be better for it. But all I had was that one clip of you saying that you doubted the police report was real. And so I took that to mean you didn't think he was there. My sincere apologies. And I mean that, sincere apologies. I don't try to get it wrong, and I hope this is an example to absolutely everyone. If presented with facts that dispute something I've said, I will apologize and correct the record. But I will also offer the explanation that I had a good reason for saying what I said. But I hope that works. That was from 228 to 229:30. I'll clip that and send it to him because I don't want him to think I'm intentionally misleading people. That's why I said it. That's why I missed it, because I don't watch you. And nor do many other people watch you, apparently. And so it goes without saying that I missed it, as many other people missed it. Almost everyone else on earth missed it. But I'm a man of my word. If you give me evidence you said that you didn't say something, I'll correct it. If you give me evidence you did something, I'll correct it. And I'm doing that now. So I hope we're good. That was me fist bumping you, not punching you. Tyler wanted to delete himself. Why would he turn himself in? He would have just did himself out. It's taking suicide awfully lightly. It's a big decision. Your Majesty, felt my Dalmatian coat come on my back right then. Could the TB of evidence handed in be part videos picked from people in the crowd? Sure, it could. You're talking about the terabytes of evidence. Another thing, is he charged with anything else? So if he is guilty of being involved in any way, they can convict him of that. Well, the only thing he's charged with, I read the counts. I put them up on the screen. That's all he's charged with so far. Those 7 counts. Murder, discharging a firearm. So if he didn't shoot anybody, then those 2 are out. Throwing his clothes away, telling his roommate not to speak to the cops, telling his roommate to delete and erase stuff. So those are 3 of the counts. That's 5. Committing a felony in the presence of someone under the age of 14. That's the 6th one. Obviously, if he didn't shoot him, that's out. I don't remember what the last one is. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he could still be convicted of those other things if he did actually tell the guy to delete stuff, but, whatever. B, Twig's relative gal in Brian Enton interview. Sounds just like Lyman running mate gal. She related to any of TR lookalike. She said in a different interview, a nephew of hers locked in building on campus by himself. I don't know. I don't know who she is. I mean, I know. Actually, Brady and Billy told me who she was because the family told them who they were. And they told me, but I'm not permitted to disclose it. All I can say is what's on the record. She hadn't seen him in over a decade, and she's a distant relative. And by distant, I mean distant. Like not somewhat, like so distant, I don't know my relatives of the same relation. I've never met them in my life. And most of you haven't either. So I don't believe anything she said. I don't find her to be a credible witness, and I am disappointed in Brian for airing that interview. Also, Harpole's the one who cut Charlie's shirt off at hospital, helped PR staff, and quickly left room to stand guard. Where's the shirt? All those glass pieces would be embedded in shirt evidence. I don't know where the shirt is. What's even more remarkable to me is Brian apparently was ordering life-saving treatment to the doctor, like telling them what to do, which is, if he is to be believed, which is very unusual. Very unusual. Parody to a scene. F, the series Blacklist. I don't know what that means. My son was so excited you called him brilliant. He sounds brilliant. With how much you know, what percentage would you give that TPUSA was involved? New? Christ is King, love from Idaho. Christ is King indeed. I would say I'm more than 90% sure at least one person currently employed by TPUSA was aware. Maybe as high as 98%. I leave open a small sliver of possibility that everything I've been told is wrong. But it would have to be everything. Because I'm getting different sources from different angles. Current employees, former employees, people. I mean, I can't tell you all my sources, but I'm getting information from so many different places. It would be hard for me to believe they're just all wrong. Thank you, Baron, for all you've done with this investigation. I'm terrified for my son who's recently joined the Marines and has orders for deployment. Please say a prayer for him and others. I will. Christine, thank you. And I too am terrified. I hate that. I wish I had more confidence. Hopefully it's over. That's what we're being told. Hey, B, the facts in the docs we have seen so far are alleged facts, right? Yeah. Also, Blake seems way too low IQ to have been in on it. Well, I didn't want to say that. I just think Blake is, you wouldn't have to include Blake. What's he going to do? Blake has nowhere to go. His reputation's in tatters. He can't leave TPUSA. He can't go get a job somewhere. No one's going to hire somebody like that. So what else are you going to do? You don't have to include him. He's on the team no matter what. Is it odd that EK Unbury Weiss said case against TR is our case and called his defense attorney, hold on. I think she called the prosecutors our lawyers. Does this imply she could be linked to the defense team? I have to go back and listen to that. I thought I heard she say our lawyers in meaning the prosecution, but I could be wrong. Photo of rifle used in news was a stock image of a 30-06. I'm hearing now that's disputed. That I'm hearing that's disputed, that might actually be the rifle. If so, it doesn't look like a World War I era antique that he inherited from his grandfather, which is going to render the rest of your comment subject to that clarification. So how does the father recognize it to be the one he gave him? In my opinion, that's another discrepancy in the charging documents. Have a wonderful Easter weekend. Crisis King indeed. Yeah, thank you. Kenneth recently commented that Cash had been delaying things. Triggered my thought. Was it Cash's vanity to refuse to leave the jet without the women's medium jacket? Waiting for something else. Timeline. The women's medium jacket. Oh, gosh. Don't forget he stole a patch off somebody too, I think. That was the rumor. I don't know. EK and TB have a picture with Yair in 2019 from an APAC meeting, welcoming Yair into the committee to State 48. Yeah. Yeah, they go back. Is Tyler's lawyer related to Farnsworth? That's the rumor. I think you're talking about Michael Burt. Cousins, what do y'all think of this? If so, I pray we are not watching a second murder in plain sight, Tyler. Yeah, that's yeah, it's been out a while. Blake Neff Speed. Saw what you did there. Yeah, we came up with that a while back. Several months ago, we came up with Blake Neff Speed. That's his nickname. He's a fast guy. You don't believe me? Watch the video. He moves with haste. Correction. Could EK be tied to the prosecution? Oh, could EK be tied to the prosecution? Well, I mean, she is. She's the wife of the decedent. She's been named as a witness. She's necessarily tied to. According to Mata, parking lot video was never asked for or given to investigators. Is it possessed somehow contradicts the narrative? I don't recall that part of the Ryan Mata video. I recall him saying that the investigator showed up and said his cell phone pinged and to check the video footage. Maybe I'm misremembering. It's been a while since I've heard him describe it. Don't forget, we've never seen the rifle, so neither did Dad. We've only seen a stock image, no composite stocks in World War II era. World War era. Yeah, so I've discussed that. There's some dispute apparently about that. Do we know what the bullet from MLK load looked like? Was it more than a fragment? Were they able to link it to a rifle? I don't know. Yeah, they did recover a bullet. I don't know if it was a fragment or a whole bullet. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's a big chunk of it. It's way more than a fragment. Say that. And it hit multiple very hard bones, including his mandible and shoulder blade. Page 5 of Doc says no shell casing found, yet they said they did. Inconsistent. I have to go back and look at that. Because I remember the part where it said they found the shell casing and it was still in the gun. They may have meant no shell casing on the roof. Counselor, my apologies for being late. Lionel was holding court. I got my Vans. Nice. See, they're great, aren't they? A note between my Nyan box and Flipper Zero, the furry message could possibly be placed on the TR phone. See, I don't know what that means. I believe you, Ivan. I would never think you're purposefully misleading us, but I'm not smart enough to know what Nyan box and Flipper Zero mean. It is so great for us non-USA citizens, Australians, having your input as a lawyer to this case. Keep up your great work. Have a happy and safe Easter. Well, thank you. Thank you. You too. You as well. Finally clicked for me. Charlie found something huge out in the days leading up to. That's why the feds were sloppy. They were rushed, extremely rushed. What did Charlie find out? I don't think he found out any. I've always pushed back on that. I don't think he found out anything in the days leading up. I think this has been planned for months. I think this was starting to be planned in the spring. The real planning started in June-ish. It went into hyperdrive in July, and by mid-August, he was already dead. He's just waiting to find out. Baron, the best trick to recover your voice is to use butter rum lifesavers. It's crucial they are butter rum. Other flavors won't work at all. I discovered this decades ago by accident. Wasn't aware. Duly noted. My question is, did his phone ping at UVU? Well, they haven't mentioned that yet. That wasn't in the charging document. Blake Neff speed cracks me up every time. Yeah, well, he's fast. Who am I to deny reality? You saw what I saw. I can fly. First super chat ever. Proud new member of a high IQ outfit. When I need a laugh, I picture Cass's eyes under BS Ben Shapiro's eyebrows. So Max, for all that's bad in the world, this community, and you remind me there is more good. Well, thank you. That's very kind. Okay, the blueberry. So that was a blueberry they were putting on all the stuff. Apparently somebody made a comment about blueberries last month. I get it now. I get it. Pick of the gun published wasn't even the gun. Yeah, again, that's apparently being disputed. EK said yes to TR guilty. Just stop interview. Yeah, she did. Judge is going to be paid off for guilty verdict. Well, judge doesn't render guilty verdict. Judge just charges the jury. Now, the judge has tremendous power about what evidence is entered, but the judge does not render a guilty verdict, except in a bench alone trial. And I've tried those. I've tried 2 bench alone trials. Got a not guilty verdict in one, actually. And got a very, very close guilty verdict in the other. The guy was facing 30 years in prison. He ended up getting clipped on 1 count by the judge and only got 9 months in jail. So that was a luck. I mean, not lucky. That was they were both very good judges, you know. But going judge alone, convincing your client to go judge alone is its own mini trial. You have to bring him in and show evidence. Frank Turek last week, UVU, asked to interview the witnesses to see what they saw that day and heard since then. Is this witness tampering worse than tainting the jury? Could be. And thought about that. Wouldn't be tampering because he's not a party, but could be. And I just finished watching Candace's show and my jaw hit the floor when I saw the photo of Connor Henderson. He's a dead ringer for Tyler Robinson. Yeah. TRS dad, where's the firearm? Didn't LT have access to? Is his DNA on any evidence? So I don't know about who else's DNA is on there. I would assume Lance Twiggs also had access to it unless he kept it in a safe and didn't tell Lance the password or whatever. Edge, I don't give any of them a pass for anything. The charge may vary, but they're all guilty of something. Someone squeal. Unlikely. If TR low crawled, you'd see a trail of rocks. Messy. How are we feeling about Cabot Phillips? Did you know he was involved in the campus Big Bang last year? How can I send you this info? I can look it up. Cabot Phillips campus shooting? I don't see anything about it. Why wouldn't you just tell me in the comment? Like, tell me the campus and the date and all that. That would be that would be the way to do it. I used butter rum lifesavers to quickly recover my voice in the 90s when I was a part-time singer and full-time engineer. Remember, they must be butter rum. Are you the same guy? Like, do you sell butter rum lifesavers? Ah, you are the same guy. Must have stock in butter rum lifesavers. Not my show or house. Just curious. Is the new paint color still happening? I don't know. When would I do it? Maybe. Thank you for being you, Baron, and a beautiful soul. We appreciate you. Happy April Fool's Day. We love you, sir. Oh, thank you, Brandy. Thank you for being you. Thank you for that generosity, and happy April Fool's Day to you. I hope that wasn't an April Fool's Day joke. That means you don't believe any of it. Hello again. You're my number one favorite YouTuber podcast. Yours, Daisy's, and your sister's hard work is paying off. I know you've said this before, but where can I purchase your merch? RealBaronPodcast.com. RealBaronPodcast.com. Just scroll to the bottom. April Fool's Day. Oh, I mean, the butter lifesavers don't work. How does someone access the court filings? I'd love to read the case filings. I'm familiar with the process. I said this earlier. Exchange, like the letter X, change, the word change, exchange. It's the Utah Exchange. If you Google that, you'll find it. You can find it there. Or you can go to AndreaBurkhart.substack.com. She has purchased and made available many of those filings. Not getting April foolishness is the best. Yeah. I hadn't considered that. It's its own April Fool's joke, right? April Fool's Day. Yeah. Okay. You guys are telling me why I didn't get the joke. Okay. I got it now. I got the jokes and the razzing of not getting the jokes. Hi, Baron. The rifle the FBI showed on TV was not the wooden old school Mauser. That was the actual rifle. Yeah. So I think I've answered that. There's a dispute whether or not that's the actual rifle. When they have access to TR's phone and that be the evidence to put in the charging dock. You would think so. Unless he discarded the phone. I love every episode, but this was my favorite. You wouldn't be getting attacked if you were wrong. Keep going, Max. I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. People aren't attacking people who are wrong. LOL. This is what happens when the high IQ outfit has an April Fool's Day. Bad day for you to be under the weather. Get better soon. Yeah, I'm trying. Not too sure the Fed slop crowd appreciates what a legal burden of proof really means, let alone proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a good call, Gen X lawyer. It's a high burden, almost absolutely certain. He disappeared from camera. The bullet fragment doesn't match. I mean, you drive a truck through this. Sent a super chat that went unread along and an email regarding Matt Tucciaroni. Was it dismissed because it has already been vetted? Former employee TPUSA alleging fraud, blackmail, and how Charlie wanted out. I don't know. I don't recall the super chat. I don't know when you sent the email. If it's the same guy I recall, I don't think he worked with Charlie. I think he worked as he worked there a couple years ago and he was a field guy or something, right? I mean, that's why I kind of discounted what he said. Is Christ actually king? I was raised Catholic and never heard of such a thing. Every other commenter says the same thing. Right above his head, when he was crucified, said, Jesus Christ, King of the Jews. And it's a kingdom. A kingdom has to have a king. Kingdom of heaven. A kingdom has a king, or there is no king, or there's no kingdom. Yeah, he's king. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to say it. Are you worried about Gary and that ignoramus lady trying to mess with your license? No. Did you watch Dee Dee interview her? She's a joke. I did. He just assaulted her. I almost felt bad for her. No, I'm not worried about it. The big whoopsie was neck wound from Mike. They caused panic and initiated public curiosity. One tiny piece of plastic exposing an evil powerhouse. Yeah, I wonder if it had just gone into his chest and he started bleeding. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. Narrative would be different if Candace had not seen video from behind of Charlie's. Why else would they contact her husband and ask if she recorded the video? Yeah, that's exactly right. My throat is super sore right now too, Baron. Enjoy the jokes later and feel better soon. I was enjoying them as they were rolling. But I always do go back and make sure I don't miss any of the super chats. I've been sickly too. Faulty voice, ears, sinus, chest, and all. I keep going. No play, no pay for me. Discovered Gary, led me to you, and Adam B hopped on with you. Feel better. Oh, man, you've been around since early October. That was a long time ago. Miss Twang, if that is your real name. Sick bay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is hazard duty. I think I sent the wrong name earlier when I said I thought who did it. Please disregard earlier note until I correct it. Duly noted. Damn, you're a good lawyer. Holy cow. Thank you. I appreciate that. Gary's guest notwithstanding. What is the possible penalty for someone present breaking the gag order and saying Charlie's guilty? I don't think there's really anyone. I mean, the judge might contact the lawyers and say, you need to get a hold of this person, get control of this person. But I'm not sure what else there's to do. Super Chat is specifically paying for you to put your readers on when reading supers so you can see the emojis. Yeah, the problem is the monitor's too far away. It actually makes it worse. Now I can't see a thing. Give me a second. The light on? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the microphone right here. Yeah. I doubt that all of the proof is 100% reasonable doubt. Yeah, I'm kind of there. Kind of there. Spotless lady. Thank you. Mama 5 girls, ages 7 to 18 here. Take my advice here. Say Jesus loves you and go drink some hot tea with honey. Decaf, of course. Yeah, we have decaf tea. I would definitely drink decaf at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to get through as many as I can. But I was judicious with the jokes because I did not want to say any words I didn't have to. But that was funny. Now that I know what they were doing, I'm humored. Like I'm humored and I'm honored, believe it or not. Have you seen the South Park, Charlie Kirk Master Debater? I have. Your mention of the wonderfully brilliant Dave Smith at the start of the pod reminded me. He is a master debater. Hi, Baron. Praying you feel better soon. Thank you. Go get rest. My husband and I wait for your podcast every night. Don't let us hurt your voice. Christ is King. Love from Indiana. Talking about this state right here. IU. Thank you. Christ is King indeed. Why does no one talk about the work you did on Google Trends? It's incredibly damning, yet I haven't heard Candace mention or talk about it. Why not? She mentioned it very early on, but just in passing. I had to go back and replay some of those, or at least pieces of it. As I talk about these witnesses, I had to go, that's what I'll do. I'm going to do a show where I do that. Where I go through and I mention the medical examiner and I say, here's what we knew about the medical examiner when none of you were watching. The surgeon, here's what we knew about the surgeon when none of you were watching. Hunter Kozak, here's what we knew about Hunter Kozak when none of you were watching. I need to do that. Our country music sensation needs vocal rest. Yes. You're talking about this one, not the other one. I had a typo. There, not there. Oh, I believe you. On the show. It's 2 minutes. I'm not doing it on the show. I'm not doing any talking I don't have to. Thanks for the good work you do and all the laughs you bring along the way. My hub and I look forward to your shows. I'm a Nashville unicorn also. Not too many unicorns around here. Particularly on the south side down here, the southern counties. Almost nobody was raised here. But you were. Could be Tyler wasn't in on it, thought he was recruited by IC and they were telling him they were doing a training op. Yeah, but then why is he so panicked? Why wouldn't he just say that? I don't know. I kind of discount that. Just common sensing it. Hadn't heard from you. Well, I did actually last week. Baron, I know who Jared Hudson is. I thought I told you the story in an email, but I may not have. Jared was on SR months ago, and Barry was getting blasted after his grieving widow post. I don't think it helped him any. Oh, I should listen more often. 2 ears, 1 mouth, that I don't think. I didn't know he was on Sean Ryan. I'm going to have to go back and watch that episode. That guy creeps me out. I'm sorry, he just does. Partaking in the Triduum. Will you be on Thursday and Friday? So Thursday, yes, but probably earlier. That's tomorrow. And then Friday, no. I will not be on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. So I will take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. Those 3 days will be off. I have to figure out Thursday because our Triduum Mass our Easter, our Holy Thursday Mass is late. So I have to figure that out. I might either try to take in an earlier one at another parish, like a noon Mass somewhere, or maybe like a 4 p.m. Mass somewhere and then hustle back for the show. I'll have to figure that out. But I do plan on coming tomorrow, as long as I can speak. If I can't speak, I might just call it a day and come back Monday. I don't know. We'll see. There's so much I want to talk about. Like, I think I have a whole nother show already ready to go. Baron, I also do not know what many chatters are talking about. Christ is King. Yeah. Sometimes they just baffle me. Like, what? The problem is they send a message that assumes a lot. And I don't know what they're assuming. You're doing a fine job. Get some rest, legend. UK. Thank you. I'm from Orem, just FYI. LDS don't turn on their own. Don't turn their own in. Church prefers to handle it themselves. They even cut the Boy Scout program when they mandated abuse to authorities. Really? Is that why they canceled the Boy Scout program? Because that's crazy if so. I mean, I think you would want people turning stuff into authorities. Tip from a family member who worked computer security at the Pentagon to keep government from hearing private convos: turn your phone on airplane mode. I don't think that works. If they can do it when it's off, they can do it on airplane mode. Does anyone remember the vid that came out on September 9th? The guy was filming and some guy in black shorts and shot top with tattoos on the front of his shins. The person filming said it was the shooter. Well, that would be the day before. Are we sure we have the right day? I don't recall that because that would have been the day before. Legal consequences for violating the gag order. I don't know. I don't know. She's talking about the Cole girl versus accused autistic bit. See, I don't even know what that means. Happy April Fool's Day, sir. 1979 was a good year because 47 years ago tomorrow is the year I became a human. Thank God for 39 hours of labor. Hubs is taking me to Area 15 for extreme visual and simulated fun. I'm stoked. I believe you about the birthday. And happy April Fool's Day to you. And happy birthday to you. I don't know what April 15 is, but it sounds extreme visual and simulated fun. It sounds fun, but make sure it's clean and legal, moral. Christ is king indeed. Have you talked to Matt Tucciaroni? No, I've not. I've heard him on Friends with Matt, different Matt. Matt T seems pretty informed since he worked at TPUSA, has informants and honest, just curious. I've not talked to him, no. But I believe you. And thank you for that. On First Super on Cassia's pod today, feel like Blake and Andrew slipped up big time, dropping info about FBI plans with the Fragment problem. I think it starts at the 11-minute mark. Play, please. I need your thoughts on it. I might do that tomorrow. I'm not planning. I'm not pulling up a clip right now of someone else's podcast and playing it. But I have no idea what it says, and I'm not prepared, and I don't know how long it is and all that. But thank you for that tip. I'll look at it. Through Joseph's bloodline, Jesus was a king. Through Mary's bloodline, he was also a priest. Duly noted. Thank you. Great episode. Please give yourself grace. Weird supers. Yeah, they were weird, but I get it now. It's a nice. I believe you. I'm not going to read it on air. I just told you that. Well written, 130 tops. I'm not reading a minute and a half of stuff right now. You hear my voice? Specifically wrote it for the jury as if I was on the witness stand. I might do it another time. How about that? I might do it tomorrow, but I'm not doing it now. Is it true TR hasn't been arraigned yet? And if so, how can that be? Happy Easter to you and your family. He is risen. Okay, he hadn't had a preliminary hearing because there's so much evidence. Yeah, I think they had said they had 28 or 32 different law enforcement agencies that contributed evidence. That's a lot. How did TR know they interrogated someone in similar clothing, as he said in the text? I am as baffled as you are. I don't know. The bomb dog's missing the gun still gets me. A police dog sniffed me out in the mall 2 days after going shooting with my friends. Really? That's crazy. What a cool story, though. Did he bite you? Laura Ann Ami, murdered in 74 in Utah, found by 2 BYU students in the Timpanogos, trending on YouTube. Bizarre coincidence after Candace show. Thank you. Me watching Barron getting a kick out of watching himself on replay. I do crack myself up, and I've been told it's unbecoming. But I say again, Dave Chappelle's the greatest comedian on the circuit today, and Dave Chappelle cracks himself up. So just common sensing it. I'm glad I'm not the only one who doesn't care what Trump's lying about. I don't even watch his war updates because I usually get tired. I actually did get tired of winning. If that's winning, yeah, I'm tired of it too. He said in one press conference like 13 different stories about whether we were winning, we were going to win, we needed help, we didn't need help, we were fine. I watched one press conference and I was like, what? Who prepped this guy? Baron, look, Rumble, we sent messages for you. I've got them pulled up. Sitting right here. I'll move them over here so I can see them closer. I intend to get to them. Please, when speaking about Israel, make a disclaimer that it's not Israel. It's the deep schling in it. Like the deep schling in the USA is not the USA. What's a schling? SHLING. Is that a thing? Schling. What does schling mean? A copper and aluminum coin and monetary unit of Austria. Okay. Duly noted. Duly noted. Oh, no. Oh, no. Koalas have fingerprints close to humans who mess with crime scene evidence. Imagine being framed by a koala. I guess that's the blueberry emoji. Is that supposed to be? Good time to go to Rumble. Are they in on it? Hold on. Whoever's got that pinned at the top, I can't see the top one because it won't let me unpin it. Oh, it did. Baron, check out a throat moisturizer called the Entertainer's Secret. Professional singers use it, and you can easily find it here in Nash Vegas. Your first bottle's on me. Thank you. Entertainer's Secret. Noted. I sent you and Candace emails months ago about Robbie Hild being the rooftop guy. I researched Robbie Hild and the connection to the Robinson family by marriage, then he disappears after BYU. Literally. Now check it out. I doubt I still have it. Thank you. There was speculation that maybe a guy jumping off a roof and stairwell was pre-recorded. Does the video of the cars in the parking lot match the cars in the Street View app you were looking at? They do. They match perfectly. So I don't think it was pre-recorded. I mean, portions of it may be, and maybe they AI'd it in and whatever. Who knows? If you text someone and confess to murder and you know there's a manhunt against them, he said in all texts, in the text, tell me it wasn't you. Would you be charged for knowing and not going to police? No. Shouldn't be. I wouldn't think so. That's all I got. If there are others, I don't see them. So I hope I got yours. It's funny to me to get charged for obstruction for trying not to get caught. Should I leave my murder weapon on site to avoid additional crime time? Yes. 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 It's like people who get charged with not reporting their theft dollars. Like you stole $50,000 and you didn't report it as income, so you get charged with that too. Someone in Grumble fell asleep after the opening statement. Unacceptable. I didn't know my voice was that bad. Please stop supporting using Adidas. It supports crimes in Gaza. All companies do. You better be naked. Mr. P.G. Whitaker II made a good point. A bolt action rifle can't be broken down with the casing still in it. I think they recanted on the breaking it down thing. I think maybe that was a talking point the governor was supposed to have abandoned or something and then didn't know. Gifted 5 Membos. Thank you. Lambos for the Membos. Isn't Erica's public speech about forgiving him fall into that too? Pretty much accusing Tyler of killing her husband. Yeah, I would think so. But I would note the judge's order was not out at that time. Maybe that's why he put it out. I just want to thank you for what you do. We all learned so much. Super insightful. I was watching NG earlier era and had to step away, and you're still live here 2 hours later. Helps so much when I'm feeling alone in the evenings. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. You're never alone in this community. We look out for one another. Patriot Academy outside of San Antonio Biblical Citizenship course includes teachings from Rob M. and Jack Hibbs. That doesn't surprise me if it's creepy. I hope you get feeling better. Love that you read chats and it's so interactive. I think it's what's made me love this podcast so much. Thanks for doing and for the great entertainment. I do my best. Yeah, I know I'm not as bubbly tonight as I normally am. I'm not bubbly like Mikey McCoy tonight, guys. He's bubbly all the time. Why is he so bubbly? But I'm doing my best to talk a little, like a 20 decibels lower than I normally do so that I can still speak tomorrow. Please include high IQ mug in next merch release. Need to start the day off right. That's a good idea. Can you zoom your monitor bigger for the reading of super chats? Control. I know how to zoom my monitor. I know how to zoom my monitor. I can, but I can't. Then I wouldn't be able to see one or the other. I got to be able to see the super chats, and I got to be able to read them when I pull them up, and I wouldn't be able to do that. No. The LDS Church left the Boy Scout program because of them allowing gay male leaders and girls in the Boy Scouts. I'm LDS and live 15 minutes from Orem. That's the story I heard. I wasn't sure, though. Let me see here. Let's see. Candace called you the Google guy. Ian directed you to us. Us to you. Yeah, I do. Okay, that's what she said. She said, in the She named Ryan. Mad at Ian Carroll. She went, and the Google Trends guy. I actually do remember that now. Thank you. I knew she referenced it in passing, but I don't remember what she said. Now I do. There were prints sliding off the roof. Not in the charging document. Love how you and Candace collaborate and come together to get the truth. She's a great resource. She's a great resource, and we've worked well together, so it's worked out. In cahoots, so they say. You need a voice coach. It'll save your voice. I think I need to stop screaming so much. It's not lost on me that the night after the big sarcastic episode is when this all happened. Was your apology to Gary an April Fool's joke? Because it was hilarious. Just kidding. You're an honest man. Christ is king. Christ is king indeed. No, it was not an April Fool's joke. Everything in there was sincere. I don't listen to him. I had no idea he had said those things. Almost no one else listens to him, so no one else knew he had said those things either. And but I missed it, obviously. And I made a good faith effort to capture what I believed his position was based on the fact that he was doubting the police report. I just saw that clip. And so, my deepest and sincerest apologies. I don't want to get things wrong. If I am told, Baron, you've gotten something wrong, here's the fact. And I look at it, I'm like, Jeepers Creepers, Mr. Peepers, I did get it wrong. I'm not going to correct it. Of course I'm going to. And I'll apologize if I got it wrong and accuse someone of something. There's a video of pristine prints sliding off the roof from an older guy with a camera on a long tripod early on. I believe that. I'm just saying it's not in the charging document. Maybe it was inconclusive. Maybe it was whatever. Or maybe it was perfect and they just not updated the documents. But for right now, what we have is what's in there. That's all we know that they have. And even if we saw a video of a perfect palm print, did it match Tyler's? I don't know. The order to not make public comments applies to any TP person at the event. See attachment H, letter to them 13028 from Burkhart's archive. Thanks for that reference. 13028 is a year and a half from now. And that's tough. I'm assuming you meant 13026. And I have that. That's the document I was reading from earlier. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I 100% agree with you that it applies. I just, again, for time, I was sort of cutting out stuff. But I did say that any TPUSA person, I thought I did, any TPUSA person at the event, specifically, I included Mikey and Blake, though, because they were the ones who've been on the record talking the most. I guess you could include Terrell, but his was very early on. Because he was the first person to declare Charlie dead. Long before Dr. Trotter did, long before the president did, long before the Beebster did. Terrell did. 26, 28 seconds afterwards. He's dead. So is my voice. Guys, I got to run. If you want merch right there, realbaronpodcast.com, scroll to the bottom. You will find all the merch you can get your hands on. For now, we'll add some more designs, more options, different colors. Coach, I hear you. I know you want a black hoodie. It's coming. We're going to do a black hoodie probably with the RBP logo on it. I really like that Adidas hoodie that the person sent me. That has that logo. I think it looks sharp. So we'll do that. Don't know what else to tell you. That's it. The time is nigh. You know what that means. Because you, my friends, will never forget. You will never forget. Jesus loves you. Happy Holy Week. Happy Holy Week. Enjoy it. Spend some time with your friends, family, loved ones, whoever's close to you. And I probably will be back tomorrow if I can still speak. I don't know exactly what time yet, but I'll try to figure out a mass time I can go to for Holy Thursday Mass and still make a show. I don't know if the show will be early, Mass will be late. Mass will be early, show will be late. One or the other will happen. If you're not able to catch it live, catch a replay. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click notifications. Don't forget to pray for your humble host's voice. I kid. There's better things to pray about. Go pray for those things. Pray for each other. We got a lot of prayer requests in the chats. I hope you guys are joining me in praying for those people. And we'll see you soon. Grumblers, good night. See you soon.